Welcome in, everybody, to the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast. I'm your co-host, Billy Musa. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Jody Smith. It is February the 2nd, 2023, Jody, and we are already doing best ball drafts here at the FFWC. Tonight, we have a large group, 12 of us tonight, drafting here in the FFWC Best Ball. We have a 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. We are not drafting kickers or defenses. I repeat, we are not drafting kickers or defenses. This is a 24-round best ball, so we get to test our knowledge and see how deep we can go for people to identify and flag plant here, Jody. Rookies are included in this draft, and the grand prize is going to be a dinner for 2 at your local restaurant near you at the end of next year. So excited to get drafting here tonight, Jody?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are thinking, why on earth are you drafting this early? But, I mean, us veterans, people that have been doing this long enough or that do it for a living know that this is a 24/7, 365 thing. There is no such, no longer a off season. So, I think after the Super Bowl, sometimes there's a little bit of a lull. And, here we are right before the Super Bowl. But to really stay on your A game, to stay, strong in FFWC drafts or any drafts, and to stay ahead of news, you really just keep plowing through in February and March. So it's an ideal time to, get ready for the lack of off season by drafting and staying sharp.
That is right. In tonight's draft, we have, let's go ahead and go through the spots that we have. So in the 1 hole, we have Jack Kohlscheen. Jack was the 2nd place finish inside the main event over here at the FFWC, inside the World Championship. JD from the GOAT District here at number 2. Josh Larky in the 33rd team here at number 3. Bradley Stalder, my old podcast partner, here at number 4. Then we have the world champ here, 2022 world champ. That is going to be Adam Rouls. I hope I pronounced that right, Adam. Then we have Fantasy Mojo, a.k.a. Darren there at the 6 hole. You, Jody, are drafting from the 7 hole. Theo Gremminger from the 8 hole. Yours truly here, drafting from the 9 hole. Luke Sawhook is going to be drafting from the 10 hole. Stephie Smalls from the 11 hole. And then we have, of course, Adam Krautwurst in the 12 hole. So you and I get to snipe each other all night. I did a draft earlier this week with Theo, and he was also right next to me in that draft as well. So Theo and I get to snipe each other, already knowing who we are targeting. I'm excited to get this thing going tonight, Jody. We have a couple guests who are going to be logging on by round. So Luke Sawhook will join us in rounds 3 through 4. Josh Larky will join us in rounds 5 through 6. Adam will join us rules in rounds 7 through 8. Bradley Stalder will join us rounds 9 and 10. Adam Krautwurst will join us in 11 and 12. Jack Kohlscheen will join us 13 and 14. Theo Gremminger will join us rounds 15 and 16. And then JD from the GOAT District will join us in rounds 17 and 18. And then we'll see how many people we can get back on here at the end of the draft to critique the draft board, talk about their favorite picks, their least favorite picks, put everybody on blast. That's part of the fun here in draft rooms, especially in February. You're on the clock, Jody. What do you think?
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I'm sitting there watching all the receivers that I was wanting to take care go on because I vowed it. Like I want to really try zero RB a little bit this year. So I'm going to go ahead and I guess pull the trigger a little early.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not. He says. So while Jody is thinking here, he's got 20 seconds. Kohlscheen goes with Justin Jefferson as the 101, Jamar Chase the 102. It's been pretty much the consensus top 3 here with Christian McCaffrey across all the sites. Travis Kelce sneaks into the 4 hole, and then Tyreek Hill actually going into the 5th hole here, which was a little earlier than I've seen in the first 5 drafts that I've done. Cooper Kupp goes to Mojo at the 6th hole, and Jody takes my boy Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I did after some careful consideration. I said, you know what? I'm going to stick with what I said. I expected that Cooper Kupp would probably be there for me at 7. I'm not surprised that Darren would take him at 6. He's a sharp guy. I kind of figured in the other drafts that I've seen, about the earliest I usually see Travis Kelce go is around 6. So I thought that's who I'd be looking at would be Kupp or Kelce. But, as we can see, Kelce went at 4 and Cooper Kupp went at 6. So Stephon Diggs stays healthy, relatively safe, excellent quarterback. I mean, he's a guy ideally I'd prefer to get in the bottom of the first, but it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and stick with like what I said going into it, and that is loading up on receivers now.
And it is FFWC scoring. We do have one less flex position, so it's not as deep as we would get inside the World Championship. So inside this draft room, as a reminder, it is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. Again, no defense or kicker being drafted tonight. Normally in the FFWC inside the World Championship, there is going to be 2 flex positions. So it's an extra spot compared to some of the other sites that are out there. It really thins out the waiver wire throughout the year, Jody. Definitely have some trouble finding receivers at some points in the year with the FFWC.
Yeah, that sort of strategy really kind of, I think, adds more credence to going with wide receivers earlier. In particular, they generally stay healthier, and as we saw last season, most of the top scorers in this particular format are from that position. So.
And for everybody who's either participating or tuning in, the draft room, because it is the first draft of the year, there's no EDP. So it's going to be a challenge at times to find players. I've noticed that when I first logged in. Usually we have at least some sort of ADP in there as industry folks are doing the draft. So thank you for being the guinea pigs tonight and allowing us to kind of set the ADP for the drafts moving forward. We have a live commissioner in here, Roy. Roy is outstanding. And Roy is going to be here. So if you ever at any point do get kind of, tripped up or you're having any problems with the software, on the right-hand side of your draft room, there's a red button that says emergency help. Go ahead and click that emergency help button. Roy will stop the clock and he'll get it started for you. You can always also chat inside the chat inside the league. Just tell Roy to please stop the clock and hit that button, and then he'll get it fixed for you. So if you click the wrong rookie or you're having a problem, make sure to just select that and Roy will get you covered. First rounds in the book, Jody. So Jefferson goes to Kohlscheen 101, like I said. Jamar Chase 102. Christian McCaffrey at the 103. Travis Kelce 104. Tyreek Hill to the 105. Cooper Kupp 106. Diggs 107. Lamb 108. I took Eckler 109. Jonathan Taylor goes to the 110. And then A.J. Brown to the 111. That was the other person I considered at the 108. 109, sorry. And then we got who was just selected? Oh, Bijan. So Bijan goes at the for second.
If my math's right, that's the RB3. RB4.
That is RB4. Yeah. So you can tell by the little on the draft board. See there, it says RB4 in the left-hand corner of each slot. It'll actually give you the running back selected. The top left-hand corner will give you the pick number. The right-hand corner will give you the round and pick number, and the bottom right-hand corner will tell you the team that they're on. Which is great when you're podcasting. You can just glance at it and see what's happening. All right, I'm coming around the corner here. Sawhook is on the clock, and then I'm coming on board here.
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown in round 2 makes a ton of sense. It's another guy that I was thinking, all right, worst case scenario, I go receiver and I get Amon-Ra as my wide receiver too. So this is what happens when you get into a draft with 12 sharks. There are there's no values. It's just nothing but if you got a guy that you're targeting, you don't wait around in a room like this. If anything, you take them around earlier than you're seeing on ADP or what anyone else has done in the past, because you're not sneaking anybody by. You're not sliding values through, in a room like this.
Okay, I am on the clock.
Oh, we have a draft help requested from Sawhook.
Roy, if you can hear us, there's a draft help request in there.
I don't know if Sawhook didn't want Saquon Barkley. Pick makes sense there, but
it does make sense. I'm gonna not pick right now. I got my player in the queue just in case it autos me, but I'm gonna see if Roy got a chance to get that situated. Okay, I'm gonna let it time out so he can get situated. I got my player in there already. Okay. Looks like is Roy not available? Okay, well, hopefully he's back shortly. Let me give him a text.
We gotta have some hiccups in the first draft of the year.
Yep, I'm gonna text Roy real quick.
Just a preview of what's to come this summer.
There he goes. We got it situated. Okay, thank you, Roy. Luke, if you can hear, go ahead and.
All right,
Roy-
you wanted Jalen Waddle, not Saquon. So
Okay, did he get it situated? I got to refresh now. Refresh your rooms, everybody. Make sure it'll update the. You're back on the clock now, Luke. All right.
Let's look at something.
Did it? He looks like he's searching. I think he's searching there. And Luke will be our first guest. So as soon as he gets this pick and I'll get my pick on, we'll just bring him on a little early. Talk to him about what's going through the mind there, what he was thinking. He might be timing out here again.
It says he can't figure it out.
Let's just bring him in now. We can walk him through it. So I'm gonna get him inside the
stage.
I'm gonna bring him in here.
Oh, sorry, your format got a little messed up on the video.
There we go. Let me get this situated.
Anyway,
okay.
yeah, I just don't know how to. I don't know how to pick my player. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it.
So click the player and then hit the make the pick.
Okay, right. So I mean, I've been trying to. Where is it? Hang on.
And you can also just hit the Q button next to their name, and it'll add it to your queue. And if you time out, it'll just pick them.
All right. I mean, I'm fine with the running back actually. Do I want Saquon or do I want Saquon's a free agent? I'll take Derrick Henry. He's safe anyway. Is that even doing it? I don't even know, dude.
Yeah, just make sure it's in your queue, and you time out. Then
I'm not even. I'm clicking the little like green button next to their name.
So you no, that's
like no. It's Saquon again. It's fine. Who cares? Just keep going.
Okay. It's yeah. So if you click the player's name, so just click the player's name. Are you on a desktop?
Yeah.
So just click the player's name, and it'll bring it up in the middle of the window. See, it'll say make pick and their name below it.
I'm on the clock again now. Hang on. That's not even letting me like click on the player's name now. I don't know why.
Click the blue Q button to the left of their name. Like there's
a giant Q. Okay, sorry, I'm brain dead. There's a little Q. Okay,
so,
it's literally like a letter Q. I was thinking like the little sheet like next to it would be.
The sheet is like the player news. So if you click the Q and then when they're in now the name should have dropped down inside your queue below the. Now just click the name inside the queue and it'll highlight like there's a black line right there. It says auto pick, but above that it'll have the player's name and then above that it's a green button that says make pick.
I still don't see that. I'm clicking on his name now. He's in the queue, but it's not coming up. Maybe I have to turn off. Oh, I have to turn off auto pick because I got. Okay, there we go. Finally, thank God. All right, sorry guys. Apologies.
No, it's okay. It's the software at first when you first learn it can be a little challenging.
Yeah, I just haven't used the website before. My bad.
Yeah, and we've made lots of adjustments. There's been several adjustments in the last 1 year. So Luke, welcome to the pod. That's a way that's a way to come in right there.
Yes, sir.
So your first two picks, you got Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. So you secured your two running backs. Are you a pretty big believer in going double running back starts? Is just how the board fell to you? Walk me through the picks.
Yeah, man. I actually really like the early wide receivers this year, but I just kind of felt the way the board was falling. I just like the value. I actually was trying to get a little spicy and take Bijan at the 110, but I couldn't figure out how to pick. But it's fine. I was just gonna have some fun with it. But anyway, happy with my two players, man. I think Jonathan Taylor at the back end of the first this year is going to be a really nice value in drafts. Obviously he disappointed a lot of people this year with his injuries. But he was the consensus 101 for a reason last year, right? I mean, he was my 102 for the record. Christian McCaffrey 101 guy here, but very happy to come away with Derrick Henry and JT back to back. I think Derrick Henry in the second round is very, very nice value, even though I don't care, dude. I'll keep drafting Derrick Henry until he's like 45 years old. If he keeps producing the way he has been, he's going to be on my teams at a nice discount.
So you have a couple people in here that are calling a delay of game on you.
Yeah, I know. My bad, guys.
Flags.
I'm probably the youngest person in this draft, and I had all the tech problems, so that's ironic. That's pretty ironic, but we figured it out. We're good now.
So have you started your early 2023 draft rankings yet?
No, not yet. We are in February. But like you said, it's a year-round sport, right? But I'm kind of focused on to that lens. Dynasty right now. I'm starting to watch some rookie film and get into the prospect evaluation and rookie rankings and whatnot. So that'll be the content I work on next. But
so you mentioned
after the NFL
Bijan.
draft, I'll start to dip my toes into best ball and redraft fully again.
So you mentioned Bijan. Without giving away too much of your strategy, who are some of your favorite rookies that are entering this draft class?
Oh man, that's actually kind of tough because again, not too familiar with them yet. I'm just starting because I don't really watch college football that much. I'm not gonna lie, but Bijan's great. Gibbs is great. I'm actually a really big Addison fan, wide receiver. I think he's my wide receiver one in this class, which is a bit controversial in terms of NFL/fantasy Twitter. Everyone's big on the Smith and Jigba train, and I am too. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that Addison might get better draft capital. So I think that's usually a pretty positive indicator there. I also am pretty keen on the tight ends in this class too.
Okay. Yeah,
what about you, man? Any favorite prospects?
Yeah, there's the usual suspects, right? Bijan, of course, is just one of those amazing talents that's probably, depending upon landing spot, could potentially be, in my opinion, a top 5 running back. Although, when you look at the fantasy points per game, that's going to have to put him somewhere near 20 fantasy points a game. So I'm not sold at Bijan inside, the 1-2 turn, which is where he's been going in early drafts as of right now. It's does he have the skill set to hit that? Absolutely. But we all know how it can be with rookies. I mean, depending upon landing spot and passing downs and what's going to happen with pass blocking, and is he going to blow a pass block? So there's a lot of question marks in that area. If he lands in Arizona, I think he has a potential to be a top 5 back. I think there's certain situations where it makes a lot of sense. Now, there's some situations that scare me, right? I know a lot of people are high on him possibly going to Detroit. For me, that would kind of limit his ceiling.
People are high on that. I feel like that would be disgusting.
Personally. I don't like it personally either because Swift is going to be taking over third down roles. They're going to be
kind of defends the whole purpose of, because we kind of like Swift. We're thinking if Jamal Williams does in fact move on, that maybe we finally can see DeAndre Swift with a larger role. So seeing them basically in some sort of guaranteed tandem again, yeah. I mean,
right.
I get why we'd want to avoid that.
Yeah, I think there's honestly no way they let Jamal Williams go. I think he's such a good locker room guy for them. I don't think they're going to let him go.
That's the thing about running backs. We often, as they become devalued, we see them slip further and further in drafts, and they end up sometimes on teams where it's not necessarily, the ideal situation. I mean, hypothetically, with what Joe Mixon getting in trouble today, what happens if Bijan just happens to be the first, running back on the board, and when the Bengals go in the bottom of the first?
I don't think there's any chance he makes it that far. I was talking about that with my roommate earlier, actually, who's a Bengals fan. And I mean, would that be an amazing pick for Cincinnati? Absolutely, right? But I think the NFL has learned to a certain extent to not take running backs like number 4 overall, like Zeke and Fournette and all those guys were doing back in the day. But I still think that, Bijan is probably a top 5, top 10 prospect pound for pound in this class. Like, I think it'd be pretty silly to see him go outside the top 20. But I don't think we're going to see him in the top 10 or anything, though. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see where he lands because I think that's ultimately going to decide a lot of his value, right? I think the team I would love to see him go to selfishly would be the Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I know I said selfishly, but I mean, like for fantasy purposes, I think Dallas would be amazing because I think in that scenario, you let Pollard walk, you keep the corpse of Ezekiel Elliott for like another year or two, and then you have Bijan to come in there and take on the identity of the bell cow running back for the Cowboys, and I think that would be insanely good. There's a lot of great landing spots, but there's also a lot of gross ones. But hopefully, a team that's willing to spend that premium capital on a running back is willing to give him the workhorse role. So.
Jody, you are approaching here on the clock here shortly. You started with one of my favorite starts of last year, Diggs and Barkley. Where do you think Barkley is going to land in free agency?
Well, you'd like to see him get re-signed or tagged and end up in New York since they finally put it together. But there shouldn't be any shortage of suitors for a running back like Saquon Barkley who can get in and do everything. And all he had to do was stay healthy. It's what we had been saying, as analysts for years. That's all we need to do is for him to stay healthy, and he finally did. So.
Absolutely.
It's a gamble with the way I was taken, but the way the wide receivers, froze up in this draft, it was just. I was just going to take. I was just thinking of taking Allen and going ahead and doubling up with Stephon Diggs. Like, might as well do that. It's a little earlier than I want to take quarterback, but
February snipes just hit different.
Right. I don't blame anyone. At this point, like, I don't really look at the way wide receivers are going up in this particular start. So,
Mahomes went off the board, and Allen. I did not notice that.
Yeah, round 3 quarterbacks.
Wow.
It's
That
it's
was
a little earlier than we're used to.
Will be my safe.
It's pretty early. Oh, Hawkinson is the tight end too. That's spicy.
Yeah, I have Hawkinson as my tight end 2 this year. He's in my.
I don't. I think he's tight end 3. I have Andrews still. I believe in Andrews.
I think it's going to break down a lot with what happens in the quarterback market with Lamar, and if he's.
I think there is no way in hell the Ravens let Lamar Jackson out of that building. They'll do everything they can to hold on to him. I think at absolute worst, they're going to tag and trade him. There's no way he walks in free agency. There's absolutely no chance.
Yeah, it's not likely, but there is a possibility. You're hearing, of course, scuttle about Atlanta. Is now popping up on the word of the street. I think
it'd be foolish for him to go to Atlanta. Honestly, I mean, I like Atlanta. I think they have some decent pieces, but they're further away than just a quarterback from being a contender.
Oh yeah, I do think so too. It's nice to see that they are going to be having a new offensive coordinator as well. I think that's the key for Lamar.
For sure. I just think that they need more pieces. Like, I think if I were Lamar and I were to want to go somewhere, I would want to go to like the Jets or maybe like Detroit or something where like that offense, like, I mean, imagine dropping Lamar Jackson into like the Detroit offense. Like, they'd be unbelievably good, but their defense is kind of bad. And then like New York, for example, you got Breece Hall and Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, and then their defense is so good.
Hit the red help button.
I already did.
Okay. Yeah, Roy, it looks like Jody accidentally took Josh Jacobs. If you can give him a hand.
30
seconds.
Who are you going for, Jody? Oh, he's locked in. Understandable.
Jacobs has actually been going in some drafts between that second and third round. I'm not keen on it. I think
it's honestly, I mean, if this was like, if we knew he was on the Raiders again next season, I think it's good value. But with the free agency looming, it's pretty risky.
Yeah, he's not going to be getting 37 touches a game again.
No, no, he will not be. All right, looks like you're back on the clock here. I'm hoping I don't get sniped before my next pick here. There's somebody on the board I definitely want.
No, I am just gonna. Also, I was having to scroll down for a bit.
Ooh, he's going deep diving. Who we got? Let's see.
It is not let me click on it.
All right. Fair enough.
You can say who it is since you're picking right now.
I was going to take DeAndre Swift.
Oh, that's
Nice.
Spicy, dude. That's spicy.
Yeah, I like his ADP this year. He's been going at that middle to late third.
Well, I can't. It's not letting me take him, so.
Did you put him in the queue?
I can't. It's not doing anything. I'm clicking on it and nothing's happening, so.
Hey, welcome to the club, buddy.
Weird. I'm not having any problems.
I'm good now. I just didn't know how to do it before.
There, he put you back on again.
Third time's the charm, brother.
Click the queue button and then get him in your queue, and then click at least now he's in there, and then you can click his name.
Yeah, it's he's in the queue, but I can't actually take him.
I wonder why there's bugs today. Interesting.
Were you on auto pick? Like, you have to hit turn off auto pick. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, Luke, you're right. That's I think what happens maybe when you get skipped. Okay, sorry
If
guys.
you hit turn off auto pick, you should be able to pick them now. There we go.
That's what we call an ID 10T error.
I just make sure that they don't re-sign Jamal Williams. That pick might be okay.
I think they're going to, man. I'm not gonna lie. He said in that one press conference, Jamal, like, they were asking if he wanted to leave or whatever, and he's like, "Why would I want to leave a place where I'm happy and having the best year of my career or whatever?" Hurts is a good pick there. I was actually hoping he was gonna fall to me after my next pick around the turn. I like that value. Very consistent production.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Well, my plans to go wide receiver heavy have gone to hell. So now I'm just going to take a bunch of
Better
pass
outsnipe me,
catches.
bro. Better outsnipe me. You did, you son of a bitch. Damn it.
Did I?
Oh, I was about to go running back. Dude, Chubb was such a good value there. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, there's no Hunt this year, most likely.
Do I want to roll the dice on Jacobs? That's the question. Probably not. But the wide receivers, I don't know. I feel like there's we're in a kind of a gross tier at wide receiver right now. I think I'm gonna make this pick. I think I'm gonna go for my guy Andrews. I just talked him up. Let's ride. He's in my queue. Why is it saying draft window now? Hello? Oh, there we go. I clicked on his name. There we go.
Yeah, click on his name and then the draft window turns into draft now. Look at that. 2 picks in a row. Now you're on fire.
We're cooking. But yeah, man, I honestly do. I think 3rd round Mark Andrews is a great value. I really do. If Lamar Jackson's there, I think it's going to be good. I mean, he was doing well this season before Lamar got hurt and everything, and he had some inconsistency issues, but I mean, the talent's real. I mean, there's no doubts of the talent there. With Lamar Jackson back at quarterback, which I assume is going to happen for Baltimore, I mean, he's a star. I think at worst, he's a top 5 tight end next year if he plays the entire season with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and just for those who are just now tuning in, the format is slightly different than the FFWC main event. We are not drafting we're not drafting defenses or kickers. We are only doing 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and 1 flex. So we are down 1 position compared to the typical FFWC scoring. So if you're in the draft room, make note of that. It will be not as many starting positions.
I'm now very angry at Smalls. Smalls, I love you if you're watching, but I'm really pissed that you just took Lamar because I was drafting Andrews and then hoping I could get Lamar for the stack at the turn, but that is okay, I guess. It's whatever. Take him. It's fine. Definitely didn't hurt my feelings.
So for the audio listeners, for later, we ran through the first round. Let's do it real quick. Justin Jefferson goes 101, then Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. We got Lamb, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. That completes round 1. Round 2 comes back with Bijan Robinson, the first rookie selected off the board. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes to the 202. Derrick Henry goes to Sawhook here, who's on with us right now, to the 203. I took Waddle 204, and then we got Garrett Wilson, Barkley, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Higgins, and Metcalf, which completes round 2. And then we have, in the beginning of round 3, Pittman goes to the 301. Breece Hall, coming off that ACL injury, goes 302. Chris Olave was hoping he'd make it back, but Larky stole him from here. And then we got Mahomes and Allen, the first 2 quarterbacks off the board at the 304 and the 305. Hawkinson goes as the tight end 2 to the 3-6. Swift goes to Jody here at the 3-7 as the RB10 off the board. Jalen Hurts goes as the quarterback 3. I am now on the clock. And you got to stall for me, boys. You want to read the rest of the picks?
I just picked Joe Burrow.
Okay. So quarterback 5 off the board. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yep, Joe Burrow just went.
I feel like there's a pretty big tier gap between Burrow and the other guys this year. Because you got Allen, you got Mahomes, you have Hurts. I mean, I think that's a pretty good tier 1 there. And then after that, you had Lamar go QB4. And then after that, Burrow. And then once Burrow's gone, you got Herbert, Lawrence, Fields. And then after that, there's a huge tier gap. But, that's what I'm kind of looking at in terms of the quarterbacks this year. I think Burrow kind of represents that last, pretty solid, you're expecting, top 6, top 8 production on a weekly basis out of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a pretty solid pick there in terms of value tier gaps.
Okay, so you have 2 running backs right now, Luke, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback, no receivers yet.
We're going for the bold 0 wide receiver strategy.
Yeah, in a 3 wide receiver league, that is a bold strategy there, Cotton.
I did not realize it was 3 wide receivers, but we're going to adjust. Well, in best ball, I actually don't really mind. It's kind of bold. I mean, I know, but it's kind of stupid, actually. Not especially with it being 3. I thought it was 2. That changes things, of course. But in best ball, you can really hammer those high upside guys later in the drafts, and you can kind of fill them out on a weekly basis. So I like the build I have in terms of the running backs because I feel really, really good about those 3 guys. So 2 guys. I'm feeling good about my 2 running back ones there. And then I like the stability of Mark Andrews at tight end, so I don't really have to focus on drafting more than 2 tight ends. And I'll be hammering wide receivers from here on out pretty likely. So we'll see.
Okay, great. Jody, I was actually contemplating between Godwin and Cooper there. I did not really want to go with a Cleveland Brown stack, though. I was just like, it sounds kind of ugly right now.
Understandable.
I think they'll be better next year with another offseason under the belt for Watson. He looked pretty rusty last year coming into the league.
I thought Amari Cooper exceeded expectations of what I was kind of thinking with him this year. He did a lot better with Jacoby Brissett than we were thinking, but he showed something down the stretch. I think we can all agree that Deshaun Watson was definitely shaking off the rust there, but you know, he showed some glimpses there at the very end. So I'm optimistic that we'll get.
Can we talk about the value that is 4th round Najee Harris? I think that's insane value for how much volume he gets on a consistent basis. Is it inefficient volume? Hell yeah. But 4th round Najee Harris is really, really good in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to consider as well, though, with the 3 wide receiver start, it's going to push the running back value down.
Right, sure. But you know what I mean still.
The running back value now because of all everyone went so wide receiver heavy early.
Yeah, and that's typical for FFWC. You see, typically tight ends and quarterbacks. Like once you get into like the main event season, like we had like Lamar was going in round 9 over here because of the 3 wide receiver start. People were just hammering the yellow stickers early and often, and it just pushes the value down at all the other positions across the board. Now, of course, early season right now with the uncertainty at the quarterback position, the uncertainty at the tight end position, we expect to see those draft picks rise at least, and we see these early picks here as we saw 4 quarterbacks go in round 3. It's probably the most that I've seen at FFWC in history, quite frankly. But it's interesting to see the mentality of the drafters right now with all the uncertainty, and they want to make sure they lock in their QB1s. Well, Luke, we have Larky coming on here shortly. Why don't you tell the listeners where to find you, what you're working on, and give them all the plugs.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely plug everything in the world. So first and foremost, yes, my name is Luke Sawhook. Hello, nice to meet you. I am a 21-year-old content creator who is currently in college at Miami University of Ohio. Been working for the last 2.5 years on my fantasy football content and social media marketing content. I'm actually very, very excited today. I landed a full-time job lined up after college today with the Hudson Valley Renegades, the team on my hat here, which is minor league affiliate of the New York Yankees. I'm going to be going out there, moving to New York this summer after I graduate and work as a full-time social media manager and marketing manager for the team. But yeah, if you like me, I guess from this first impression, or if you just like some fun, high energy, positive fantasy football content that is available for free, go check out my Twitter account, which is at Luke Sawhook. It's Luke and then the 2 metal things. So appreciate you guys so much for having me on. Really means a lot. And have a great time with the rest of your broadcast, guys. Love you tuning
Congratulations on the gig.
chat.
Yeah, congrats on the gig. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and we will make sure to tag you once we post the board on social media. Have a good
great, man. I appreciate it. Peace out, guys. And Larky, I hope you mess up all your picks and give me all the value. Thank you so much.
All right, next up we have Josh Larky here from the 33rd team. He's already sniped me once, or not sniped. I guess I'm halfway across the board, but he's already taking guys out of my queue with the Chris Olave pick. Larky, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. I knew you were going to be angry a bit about the Olave pick. I was getting you back. I'm trying to remember now. I've been too focused on just actually trying to queue guys up because I haven't done a 2023 draft yet. You guys sniped me. Who the heck was it? Oh, Jalen Waddle. I was like, if Jalen Waddle gets back to me. And then he was gone. And then Jody, there was somebody where I was like, oh, that one really hurt. Saquon 2-6. Didn't think he'd make it back to me, but that second round was pretty brutal. Felt like, I don't know, ETN's definitely he's a little step below those guys.
Yeah, there's times over here at FFWC where I'll be like 6 picks up and I got 5 guys in my queue, and my queue just gets decimated. Right, there's a lot of sharp drafters over here. It's always good fun. We're talking about the yellow sticker sales with how many 3 wide receivers here. So for those who are unfamiliar with the format, we do start 3 receivers, typically 2 flex positions. In this draft, just 1 flex. So at least it gives us at least another bench spot for the best ball. But how do you typically like to approach drafts with 3 wide receiver starts, Larky? Do you usually try to force the receiver build, or do you let the draft kind of come to you and decide moving forward?
I'll still let the draft come to me, but it's definitely something I have to be cognizant of. So me having started with McCaffrey and ETN, we're not taking running back for a while. It doesn't matter if there's value.
Speaking of the draft coming to you, Josh.
Oh, you're on the clock.
I know. I was waiting just for suspense. I already know this is going to be my guy next year. I freaking hated Jerry Jeudy every year. God, the guy sucks. And you know what? This year I was like, wow, this is clearly the wide receiver that you want for next season. So incredibly impressive, I thought, in limited action, given the multiple injuries he suffered. I think there's a lot of optimism surrounding what this Broncos offense will be with Sean Payton there now. I think there's going to be a lot more competence. So I was quite stoked. I almost took Jeudy actually in the 4th round. So, I mean, that's where he was going last year. And I think if anything, we kind of cemented that he's ahead of Sutton on the pecking order for targets this year. So I was quite pumped there.
It's interesting that you said you haven't been high on Jeudy, but you are this year, because we've already started my 2023 redraft rankings, and I was looking at Jerry Jeudy because he populated on some of the models that I was building for value receivers. And you look at his finish down the stretch, and he had some up and downs. There's definitely some hills and valleys, but week 14, he was wide receiver number 1. Week 18, wide receiver 3. He had a 24, 27, a 14 sprinkled in there. In best ball, that's what we're looking for, right? Those spike weeks like that that are going to win you weeks. This offense was definitely, did not meet expectations last year. You mentioned, the addition of Peyton, which I think is going to be great for the Broncos. I mean, when you look at the trade, though, what was it, 3 first rounds and 3 second rounds now to acquire Russell Wilson and Peyton, if my memory serves me right?
It's bleak, yeah. So at least they had the Bradley Chubb trade. So at least they got something back because, yeah, it's a lot of capital.
It is a lot of capital, but you would at least hope at this point now that the offense should be clicking, right? And we would assume that they're going to be in a much better spot with an offensive mind like Sean Payton. We all knew that defense has been kind of the strong point of this team. If they can get the offense correct, I think the Broncos could be pretty deadly here in 2023.
Yeah, so I'm actually starting to beat the drum for Russ. So he didn't play very well this year.
No.
But the offensive line was definitely not as good as expected. O-line play can be a little bit volatile year to year. So I think just natural regression, it's probably not going to be as bad. And then the wide receiver room was decimated. Think about it. Before the season starts, Tim Patrick, ACL tear. Yep. KJ Hamler barely plays ever. Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy each missed several games. And then on the running back side, Melvin Gordon ends up getting cut. Javonte Williams gets hurt in, week 3, week 4?
Yep.
He misses the season. So when you think about it, Russ wasn't playing well, but the whole ecosystem kind of crumbled around him. So I think they're actually kind of like my favorite bounce back team at this point.
Great. No, I love it too. I have them pegged around the same as well. So, like the thought process there. Any other team while we're on the topic that you think could have a bounce back year or maybe surprise? I mean, last year I had Detroit Lions. I picked them to win to win their division. Didn't end up happening, but we did see them come on very hot at the end of the year. They looked like, I think, the better team in the division the last few weeks of the season. But anyone else that you think may outperform expectations or might be a sneaky good offense here in 2023?
So while I haven't done a 2023 draft yet, I did write an article at the3013.com with our head of betting, Ryan Reynolds. We actually played some 2024 Super Bowl bets. 2 teams I'm extremely bullish on for the Super Bowl and just the offense's potential. The Browns, I think they're very interesting. Deshaun Watson on a borderline Hall of Fame path through 4 seasons. Doesn't play for 2 seasons. Looks rusty. I think we're allowed to give him a mulligan. And then the other one with the Jets, I think they have a pretty clear path to winning this division if they get something competent at quarterback. The reasoning, the Patriots, purgatory. This defense greatly outperformed the talent level. The offense is just a train wreck. There's no good players on offense. When your most dynamic player is Ramondre Stevenson, that is highly concerning on offense. The Dolphins, I have no idea what's going on with Tua Tagovailoa. I do not want to bet on a guy that simply has no pocket awareness. And then with the Bills, Josh Allen gets expensive this year. Outside of Stephon Diggs, literally every other skill player on offense is average to below average for their spot on the depth chart. The defense, it's not that great. Von Miller's going to be 34 and a half years old, coming off an ACL tear as their marquee defensive player. I think the Jets, with any competence at quarterback, run away with this division. And I don't think that's a hot take. They had 9 games started by Zach Wilson, and still nearly made the playoffs this past year. 9 Zach Wilson games, and they nearly did it. He made Mike White look like a stud. Mike White is not a good quarterback, and he looked awesome just because you get used to Zach Wilson and these just like college type game plans at times. So the Jets especially are my team. So I was pissed when I had no idea what Garrett Wilson, where he would go, but he and Waddle were kind of like my 2 initial auto picks since I went running back round 1. And obviously they both went well before.
What was that, Jody?
Wilson was someone I was targeting too. And clearly this is going to be a huge wide receiver early draft. So it's kind of thrown, everything off here.
Is that where you guys expected him to go? I haven't done a draft for next year yet. I don't know if you guys have. Is this where Garrett Wilson's going to be going? I don't think it's wrong. I'm just
Garrett Wilson has been floating around the middle to the end of the second round.
Yeah,
so
he's I don't know, Billy. What do you think? He's like around wide receiver 15, something like that in that range at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably between 13 to 15, most likely. I mean, you could argue that Devonta Smith is ahead of him. You could argue that Debo could be, but I think that we're going to consistently see Wilson go ahead of Debo, just because of the quarterback uncertainty in San Francisco, and because we know that they love to run the ball as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Garrett Wilson. I still think so. I was building out a model for predicting future breakouts, and we all know Wilson already broke out, but he hit that model for me when I looked at the top 15 receivers. All of them had 4 characteristics and traits. When I searched the rest of the league and looked at players who also met those statistics, there were 6 names that popped up, or 7 names that popped up that met either 3 or 4 of 4 of all of those. Garrett Wilson was number 1, Debo was number 2, and then we had somebody who was the other one? Drake London was another name that was on that list as well. Mm-hmm. So there were a few more in there. I'm not going to give them all away tonight, but there were a few of them that definitely we've seen the ADP already higher than I anticipated seeing them in early drafts.
Am I just an absolute fish for taking Kyle Pitts? I think he should go earlier. I think every year he's going to be that player where they're like, oh, wow, this guy, like, wow, the fantasy community is so high on him. And I'm going to be like, hey, that's me. I'll take him again.
So real quick, before we get you out of here, I want to ask you about some of the rookie picks. So Bijan was the first rookie selected at the 2-1. Is that too early for you for a rookie running back coming in? He was the running back 4 selected off the board.
I haven't done my rookie research yet. I'm starting that after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
However, I will say that given the history of rookie running backs, I would not have taken him quite that early.
Okay, I'm the same. When you look at the fantasy points in which they have to average, it's 20 fantasy points a week to be a top 3 or 4 running back. Yep. I think that's asking a lot from a rookie coming into the league, and we don't know the team that he's going to land on yet.
So I've got a question for you guys.
Go for it.
What team does he have to go to? So he went, what did he go at? 2-0 what?
He went to the 2-1, so RB4 off the board.
Here's my thought experiment. What team does he go to where he goes earlier than 2-1 in like 3 months?
What if he landed in Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Does he go earlier than 2-1 though? Like there's still Cook and Josh Allen.
I like it, but you still have Cook there who's going to be doing third down rolls. I think for me it would be Arizona, right? Because there's a lot of uncertainty there in that
quarterback.
That's the point. They may have to run the ball more.
I don't think there's anywhere where he goes there and you go, I'm going to take him earlier than 2-1. That's kind of why I wouldn't take him that early. Is that feels kind of like the ceiling. I think most likely we see the landing spot and go, I'll take him 2-3 turn.
So just
That's what I'm thinking.
I agree with your thought process here. Just playing devil's advocate because I like to do that. I had the opposite thought process with Chase Edmonds last year when he was going in round 12 and 13 and 14. And I said, I can't think of a scenario in which he signs with the team and he goes down any lower. And when he signed with Miami, I was like, oh, that's it. He's going to start going. And he started climbing dramatically. And then we saw what happened. The rest is written in the books of history. We could see the opposite outcome here with Bijan Robinson. Although I think it's unlikely. I agree with your thought process here. It is a possibility.
God, there's like nobody good to draft. What's going on?
So Giselle says Bijan Philly, kidding. And I'm taking him 110. What do you think about Philly?
Philly. That's probably the best landing spot.
You're counting on Miles finding elsewhere, but you're always going to have the issues of them using multiple backs, and of course Jalen Hurts stealing a lot of the short yardage. But as an overall fit for an offense, yeah, you love it.
Get ready for this pick. I didn't realize he was still on the board. We're doing
Right.
party fists.
All right, who is it? Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
I figured it was gonna be somebody like that.
I didn't realize he was still on the board. So.
Well, Larky, we have Adam coming on next. Why don't you tell everyone where to find you, what you're working on, and plug the details?
You can find me on Twitter at JLarkyTweets. You can find me at the33rdteam.com. I would recommend checking out the site. Everything for the rest of this season in the next month or so will be free. Some stuff will go behind the terrible, scary paywall coming up shortly. But right now, what I'm working on is mostly behind the scenes. I've done a lot of betting content recently, but the most of my week at this point is off-season budget work. Not quite as exciting. And much more exciting that was off-season projects. So we'll have a ton of really cool tools, content, stuff like that coming everyone's way within the next 2-3 months. So that's one of my favorite times of year is kind of the strategizing. I think, Billy, you and I have talked about this before. The user experience value add that we bring, I think, is really crucial in this industry. And I have some really cool ideas for how to make some pretty innovative betting products coming out shortly. So
that's
excited
awesome.
about that.
Excited to hear about it. Excited to learn more about it. Larky, thank you for joining the podcast. Good luck in the rest of the draft. We'll talk to you soon.
Billy, Jody, thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure.
All right, let's go ahead and get Adam in here next. Adam, welcome to the podcast. For those who don't know, Adam was the 2022 World Championship first place winner. Was $150,000. And did you win the overall league prize as well?
We did not. Well, we got the top points prize, but
top
we did
points.
not get the full dominator. But at least we got the top points for $2,000.
So you did get another $2,000. So $152,000 off that one team. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much. It's been a wild ride and obviously a crazy end to the fantasy football year. Brought us to be champions. We were watching the game. It was a Sunday night football, right? Because we were in first place after Thursday night and first place after Saturday, and then we're going into Sunday. Like, okay, we need X amount of points, and little did we know that a useless touchdown at the end of the game, Pickett to Harris, little dump off, was going to ultimately win us the championship. So very cool.
Well, it's always a great feeling when you get to cash that check, right? And tell the significant other, hey, just won $150,000 in fantasy football. Now I'm working on Sundays watching football, right?
Right, exactly. I like it. I like the idea.
Well, let's. You are drafting from the 5-hole. Why don't you walk us through your team, your thought process, and is this a typical build for you in best ball?
It is. I like to get wide receivers fast and furious, especially in our league here. But it really is because the wide receivers they tend to go so quickly, and the running backs you can always get the secondary guys and hope from a best ball perspective that they step up at the end of the draft. So I like to start hot and heavy with the wide receivers. So obviously Tyreek Hill was on the board. I was actually debating between him and Stephon Diggs. I had Diggs on lots of teams last year, so I'm like, okay, I'll start with Tyreek Hill and go from there. Coming back around, I couldn't pass up Deebo Samuel. Obviously, just trying to pick top teams this early. I'm not used to drafting this early, that's for sure. So I figure who's going to be good next year. 49ers will be good. So Deebo was sitting there, went with that guy, and coming back around, I always like to get my quarterback early in best balls. Third round's probably a little early for me here, but Mahomes went right before me. I don't want to say I panicked, but I'm like, hey, you know what? It's early. Why not lock it in? And Allen's definitely my QB, top QB this year, and I probably won't ever get him again because I never draft QBs this early, but locked him in there for sure. So I like the start.
I was eyeballing Josh Allen because I took Diggs in the first round, and I wasn't really pleased with the way the second round was developing. Well, you know what? It's a little early, but if I have to, I'll go ahead and mix my quarterback and wide receiver there together. But
it turned out to be a good move because, as you see, there was 3 quarterbacks taken after me, and obviously you would have taken Allen right there. So it was one of those things where I'm glad I did what I did. That's for sure. Just the way the QBs ended up going. And then got a little nervous. I'm like, okay, no running backs. I didn't really like wide receivers at the board at the time. So Najee Harris just seemed like a obvious pick. I mean, top first round guy, second round guy last year, dropping to round 4, even in a wide receiver heavy league. Najee Harris seemed like a no brainer to me, so I snagged him for sure.
Before we continue, I would just like to announce that the last pick right there was for Josh Larky. He was we had a big debate on Cam Akers a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
I don't know where he's going. It's so hard. I mean, clearly they love him over there. So I think as long as he's healthy, he'll probably keep playing. But
yeah, it's the Wild West right now in February drafting best ball. Right? There's not a lot of way too early rankings out yet. There's ADPs kind of being established in draft rooms as we speak. People will go 3 rounds earlier, 3 rounds later. You can start to kind of gauge consensus a bit, but you just never quite do know where a player is going to go in these early drafts.
especially when we're trying to search for them. It's I know you guys have been talking about it all draft, but it is hard to find players in the draft room right now. So
yeah, this draft will kind of establish ADP for the way too early best ball tournaments, and for, of course, early redraft teams that are going to be drafted here shortly at FFWC. So this will definitely help others. We will pave the way for other FFWC drafters. So we are the guinea pigs.
I was trying to find, like, how can I populate the queue as much as possible before I came on? So that's what I was trying to do, at least get viable picks ready to go.
How long have you been drafting at FFWC?
I from day one, really. I mean, I was a first year WCOFF guy, and so I think that started in 01, 02, and then when Ian started this league, basically with the old school rules, I had to join, and I always seem to have more success with the 3 wide receiver play here with the 2 flexes or 1 or 2 flexes. The tight end premium stuff, I always screw it up, so I don't like to play it.
So you've seen the site change drastically. How did you like all the changes that were implemented last year? We had the draft board revamp. We had the ADP board that we added, all the I think the premium tools is what we called it. Did you get a chance to use any of those tools?
I did not, really, to be honest. Sorry about that, because I know you're probably hoping I would, but no, I did not really get a chance to use the majority of the tools.
So if just for next year, for instance, the ADP board, you can literally click the ADP board and you can have it in another window. It will then pull up a draft board view of the average draft position. As players are drafted, they'll gray out. So you can kind of get a snapshot view of who's available, what their typical average draft position is, and as each one is picked, it grays out your board, so you can kind of get an easy color reference for who's available and what positions are available. It was a pretty slick tool that Mike helped create.
Ah, cool. No, that is awesome.
Zay Flowers.
That's the rookie.
This early?
Yep.
Bradley's all over the place with the guys he's got on his queue list. I've seen several guys for Bradley.
Yeah, Zay Flowers is consensus wide receiver 6 right now in rookie ADP. I mean, we all know it's rookies, so it's debatable, but he is right now, as of today, ECR wide receiver 6 for the rookie draft class. Mm. Bradley likes his rookies. I always give him trouble about it. Like, he did a live draft the other day, and I think he had like 4 or 5 of them. I told him a little rookie heavy, but if you can hit on them, it definitely pays off.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's I know I've been going heavy on Javonte Williams the last 2 years, and so I drafted him early and then came back with him last year, and it totally screwed me in every league. I think I had Javonte Williams everywhere, but ultimately it didn't matter.
Well, Adam, thanks for joining the podcast. Congratulations again on the win.
Thank you.
Do you have a Twitter? I didn't.
I do not. I'm a regular business guy, so
right.
I don't have a Twitter handle or anything to that effect. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn if you want to hook up with me from a business perspective. But
well, why don't you tell people what you do for a living, where they can find you on LinkedIn if you want to connect business wise?
Sure. Chief Revenue Officer for Shiva.ai, and we do connected software. We connect the vehicle to a service. So in the near future, you'll be able to activate the gas pump one touch from your vehicle, and that's what we'll be doing.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm going to get Bradley in here, give him a hard time about his Flowers pick here, and we'll get rock and rolling. Take care.
Sounds
Adam.
good, Billy. Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Bradley, welcome to the podcast. How you doing tonight? How you liking your team so far?
Yeah, I like how it's turning out for me. I have the best quarterback and the best tight end, and I've just gone 5 straight wide receivers. So we're just YOLOing it from that wide receiver spot, and we'll figure out running back later on. It's a 24-rounder, and, at this point, there's, as you mentioned, so many rookies out there. It's rookie season, Senior Bowl season. Really excited to bite on some of these.
We can tell who's been watching them hype videos.
No. So the Zay Flowers is, I actually haven't watched very much film on him. I've let the film bros do that for me. I have been leaning into a lot of the mock drafts that I've been seeing in PFF, but also in other places. And I haven't seen Zay Flowers get outside of the first round in almost every mock draft that I've seen from reputable sources. So for looking at what first round wide receivers who have received draft capital, those types of wide receivers are absolute fire for your fantasy drafts anytime outside of wide receiver 36. So I'm on the clock here, and
your distraction technique did not work, Jody.
I know. Y'all are doing it to me. There is.
What are you thinking here? Walk us through the thought process.
Yeah, so I need to make a pick. I'm not walking you through. We're going to make another pick, and this is yet again another player in the top 34 projected to go in the NFL rookie draft, and that is, if it does it load, Josh Downs, early declare, projected top 34 draft pick. These first-round rookie wide receivers are criminally undervalued. If you look at where they were drafted the last couple of years, outside of the top 36, 48, 50s, and 60s of these wide receivers, they return value pretty significantly. They give you high upside weeks. You don't need them to be hitting at the beginning, but it's about hitting at the end. And getting them at wide receiver, like, give me the dart throw of Josh Downs versus what mess could be with Alec Pierce or Rondell Moore, right? Those, like, I'd rather take a blindfold over some of these rookies than taking what I know. I know the limitations for Alec Pierce. I know the limitations for Rondell Moore, and instead, let me take some risk at these higher upside, high projected draft capital wide receivers.
I'd like to hear about the limitations on Rondell Moore now. Limitations is wide receiver 1.
Look, that was not a shot at his height, okay? Just because he's 5'7".
He just can't stay healthy. Other than that, you know me, I'm a big Rondell Moore honk, but
yeah,
Rondell Moore looks good.
When he's active, he's right there where I wanted him to be. But
yeah.
The big question is when active, right?
He's just not active enough.
Yeah. I was actually surprised to see my 2022 boy still on the board. I know that it did not live up to expectations, but round 9 as wide receiver 55 off the board.
I just had him queued. That was a good pick. He was someone like I had him queued, and I was like, man, do I really want to risk it one more? Because I don't like a lot of these quarterbacks that are left. So I went ahead and took Dak because I didn't want to get stuck with. I mean, there's nothing wrong with. Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, but I'm looking for a little bit more.
I'm going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel to quarterbacks here.
Those quarterbacks.
So let's talk about the quarterback situation, right? A lot of uncertainty this year. We're starting to see, at least in the early drafts, quarterbacks kind of creep up the board. We saw 4 quarterbacks today go in round 3. Bradley led the charge here with Patrick Mahomes, and then Josh Allen goes directly after him at the 3-5. Hurts goes 3-8. Lamar Jackson 3-11. Burrow to the 4-3. I don't want to say it's too early for quarterbacks because we're starting to see them creep up, but how about that order for you, Bradley? I have Mahomes this year as 101. I'm assuming you do now because you took Patrick Mahomes, but how does the rest of that unfold for you compared to the board?
all three of those first three picks are in the same tier for me going into 2023. I think, I picked Mahomes to stack with Kelsey. If you're drafting him naked, I think that Hurts offers the most consistent. Yes, they are wearing clothes when you draft them, but to be clear, if you're drafting Hurts by himself, he almost 60% of the time was a top 5 quarterback for you this year, compared to Allen and Mahomes, who were only about 45% of the time. There was a clear tier difference between what Hurts was giving you this year and what Allen and Mahomes have done last year. But Mahomes did what he, with the loss of Tyreek Hill, and replaced with Marcus Valdes-Scantling and Kadarius Toney. So we could see Patrick Mahomes get one more weapon in there, or ascension of Kadarius Toney, and pants are off for Patrick Mahomes. But I think the tier 2, Jackson, Burrow, Fields, Lawrence, I think that's all right. I was debating whether or not to take Lawrence at pick 69 to double tap. And you're thinking, why are you taking 2 quarterbacks early? Well, the reason is, if Mahomes fails, you have another top tier quarterback in the type of scoring that we have. Like, it's very favorable toward the quarterback, number one. And number two is that Lawrence was quarterback 4 last year in top 5 quarterback performances. 25% of the time, Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback, scored 25 or more fantasy points, and that was only behind Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts.
Good data. Like to hear it.
Yeah.
Any of these first quarterbacks that you are not keen on at ADP?
You have questions about Deshaun Watson, whether he is going to bounce back. The talent is there, but there's a lot mentally that seems to be going on with that team. There's also not a first-round draft pick this year to support his ascension. He looked to be targeting a lot of Amari Cooper, which is nice, but not as nice. All of the other parts of the offense just looked out of sync, and maybe it's he just needs more reps. Maybe he needs this or that, but there are just too many questions I have with Deshaun Watson. Give me Dak Prescott, give me Tua, give me definitely give me like Trevor Lawrence over to Deshaun Watson, even though they're back to back. Like, I don't think it's very close in Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence. So, and then we have questions about the new coordinator in the Chargers. What, Jody?
So there shouldn't really be questions about Trevor Lawrence anymore. I think, like Bradley was saying, he went on that really, really strong run there where it said, okay, there were some things off that, didn't work that first year for Lawrence, but you can blame that on the ridiculous coaching he had. But yeah, he looks like he's the real deal. So,
let's talk about your Packers for a second. So Aaron Rodgers.
Let's not. Okay, we will.
Future is uncertain here in Green Bay. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers plays in 2023? If you had to take a stab at it?
I don't like this. You're getting me so uncomfortable, Billy, because I have all of the Packers gear behind me, and the poor Packers, like, at least Jordan Love showed something this past year in his 30 dropbacks, but I think he ends up landing either in Vegas or the New York Jets. I think those are the top 2 places, and the Jets seem to be really keen on him. But Vegas, you saw the tweet today by Devontae Adams, because he was quote tweeting, "What neighborhood will Aaron Rodgers end up in?" And his response was, "My neighborhood." So we'll see. Oh man.
So what does that mean for your Packers here? Are you confident in Jordan Love? How does the offense break down? What do you think it's going to look like? Because let's face it, Green Bay went from a Hall of Fame quarterback to another Hall of Fame quarterback, from Favre to Rodgers. How does that torch being handed down to Love affect this organization moving forward?
I will answer that once I make my pick.
All right, that's fair enough. 33 seconds. Jody, how about you while he's picking? How do you think that's going to work out for Green Bay?
I get the impression that he'll probably end up there. I mean, this is it. it's just become apparent that I don't know, is he just looking for attention in the past? I couldn't blame it. I couldn't blame the Packers for just wanting to just wash their hands of it. I mean, last year was such an overall disappointment. But, Billy, as you know, when we look at film or when we're watching the numbers and all that, you just wonder how much of the blame really relies on these unproven young wide receivers that, when it comes down to that timing and the rhythm that he had with Devontae Adams, it was clearly missing. And you wonder just how much of that blame actually falls on the receivers because, you saw with Christian Watson when he finally started clicking with it, it started looking like the old Aaron Rodgers of sorts. So I'm kind of like torn, wondering if somehow Green Bay magically had a Devontae Adams or, not close to that, but let's say a legitimate wide receiver 1 or 2, that maybe you could see Aaron Rodgers creep back into the, QB1 territory. But at the same time, I think maybe because of all the drama and all that, maybe it is time for a fresh start and for the Packers to start looking for the future.
Bradley, do you concur?
I agree. The loss of Devontae Adams really hurt, but the underreported news was that Rodgers was dealing with this broken thumb for almost the entire season, and that affected his accuracy. It affected his completion percentage. It affected everything pretty much the second half of the year. Fun fact: Allen Lazard was wide receiver. He was in the top 12 of expected top 5 fantasy finishes, according to PFF. At 14%. He had 0% of his weeks as a top 5 wide receiver. That's just wild that he could not access it, partly because of Aaron Rodgers' injury, but also, when Rodgers is looking the way of Christian Watson, it was a beautiful thing. So can you blame him throwing a little bit more to Christian Watson than Allen Lazard?
No, you cannot. Well, Bradley, we have Adam Krautwurst coming on next. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This was a lot of fun.
And doing the draft with us. Why don't you tell people where to find you, a little bit about your YouTube channel, and just plug all the details.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. I have a booming YouTube channel, Best Bell Fantasy, repping the gear tonight. And the channel's grown a lot over the course of the year. I'm working on a couple products that I'll hopefully be getting out to the public here in the next couple months. Doing some rookie studies, giving all of us a better understanding of what are we getting from these rookies, and also some upside studies as well that'll be coming out very shortly. Working hard on that for y'all. So thanks, Billy. Thanks, Jody. Appreciate y'all having me on tonight.
Thank you, Bradley.
Thanks,
have a good night, and good luck in the rest of the draft. All right, next up we have Adam Krautwurst. Adam, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Men, how are you?
Good. You're drafting the 12 hole. How's the draft coming along for you?
I think it's going well. I think it's going very well. I mean, I kind of like the way stuff is falling to me. It's kind of chaos. Normally when I'm drafting, I'm used to knowing who I'm going to take and having like a list of guys and being in a comfort zone and having a plan B and a plan C. And right now I'm just trying to figure out I'm just queuing up players that make sense. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get a couple rounds ahead here in case people forget about players. So it's been a lot of work, more work than I'm used to in a draft, but I think it's gone pretty well.
So elephant in the room, you took Bijan Robinson at the 2-1. It's safe to say that you are a believer. Where is the ideal situation, ideal landing spot for him? The question was, is there a spot Larky brought up? Was there a spot that he would land where his ADP would climb from that spot? And if so, what team is it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so this is my second draft. I'm in another draft on another site now, and I took Bijan. It's a super flex. I took Bijan mid-second as the RB3. So probably nowhere, right? There's probably nowhere he's going to go. Maybe Miami or something like that, where he could be in an explosive offense and he could be the guy. But I will openly admit I'm taking him at cost here, at his peak probably. And if I could do it again, if I had 10 drafts from this position, I would go Saquon half the time and him half the time. I just landing spot obviously has a lot to do with it. But I don't think anyone denies his talent. Philly would be a great spot for him too. Like if Sanders is gone and he ends up in Philly, that would be a sweet spot. So there are some places. I wouldn't put Kansas City out of the loop. I mean, Kansas City took CEH. Imagine if Kansas City took Jonathan Taylor, or DeAndre Swift, or J.K. Dobb. Like they took the worst running back out of the group. So they've shown the ability to take a running back at the end of the first. So Bijan's not going to last that long, probably, but there are some offense that he could land in where he could be really good.
Can you imagine if the Chiefs had a hit on their running back when they took
I know, it's terrifying.
Imagine if they would have taken Jonathan Taylor there.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it would have been a much different looking offense. We wouldn't have had all the running back roulette that we have had of the previous years.
Yep.
Next rookie you take is Johnston. I know he is one of the top rookies in the class at the wide receiver position. So as of right now, it looks like you potentially have the rookie running back 1 and the rookie wide receiver 1. Where is an ideal landing spot for him for you?
Hold on one sec here. I'm on the clock for a back-to-back.
No, I'm supposed to distract you, so you.
That's right. I owe you one, or you owe me one. I think.
No, it's just figment of your imagination. You're really not on the clock right now.
I'm gonna go there, and then I think I gotta go.
Just ignore Liz Loza's voice right now. You're yelling. You're on.
Is that her voice?
That's who that is. Yeah, it's Liz Loza.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go there. Okay. So your question was about Johnston, correct?
Yeah.
Johnston.
That's right.
You know what? I don't really. It's hard because there's still. I wish the draft was before free agency for like so many different reasons, but I don't know. I just want him to be the number one wherever he goes. I don't care if it's a good offense or a bad offense. It's hard because we don't know what receivers are going where and where they're going to end up. But if Brandon Cooks ends up moving on from Houston through a trade or whatever, and then they land Quentin Johnson, I'm fine with that. I just want him to be the number one somewhere, and he'll probably start off a little bit slow, like a lot of the rookies do on teams that don't have great offenses. But he's super talented. He's an alpha outside number one. He's not like a lot of the new kind of age receivers coming out, or the Chris Olaves and the guys that can kind of move around, where I think he's like an outside T. Higgins, Mike Williams type player.
X receiver.
An X receiver. Exactly. So I would love for him to land somewhere as the number one guy, just getting peppered with targets and red zone targets and all that type stuff.
Great. So rest of your team here. So let me read it from the top. You got Devontae Adams. Okay, there we go. A little more controversy. How do you think this is going to play out for him? Raider next year? Not Raider next year? What's your thoughts? Does it matter where he lands?
I think it probably matters a little bit. I took him there just based on like talent, and he could obviously coming off a year with as many touches as Izzy had. He could obviously have a down year. Just based on all the carries and but I feel like I was shocked to see him go. I mean, we were talking, it was a little crazy, but like after that huge performance he had, leading into the fantasy playoffs, we were talking is he going to be a first round pick? Is he going to be a top 5 pick? I wasn't thinking that. Most people weren't thinking that, but there was discussion about it. And for him to go with the 3-4 turn, I'm fine with it. In best ball, I like to take a couple running backs early. And then load up on kind of like receivers later on, because they can hit that one, all you need is a 60-yard touchdown, and that guy's starting for you each week, where it's hard to get that from the mid-round running backs unless they're actually starting for you week in and week out. So I like to get running backs early, especially in this format too, where you kind of know who the guys are, whereas receivers, it matters where they are, who their quarterback is. So I think it's a little bit more difficult to hit receiver here. So I wanted to go get a couple running backs early, and so yeah, Jacobs. I feel like if he's back there, I don't know, where do you think he goes? If we know he's back in Vegas, is he a late second, mid second?
I think it was a perfect storm last year. I don't think
I was on the clock. I might need a second here.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect storm last year. I don't think we see that perfect storm again. One, he's on the end of his contract. They didn't have any investment in him, so they could literally run him into the ground. Two,
Yep.
we saw Derek Carr just
Tell him I need to redo that pick. I don't want Kyler.
You got to hit the red button. It's delayed on the on YouTube by about 30 seconds. But there is a so perfect storm. I was saying. So we saw the inefficiency of Carr last year, his inaccuracies. We also saw the injuries to Waller and Renfro. And it just seemed like everything just aligned for Josh Jacobs. They were giving him, 30, 40 touches a game, where if they re-sign him and they allocate those funds now towards him for the future, I don't think we see that type of volume moving forward because they're going to want to protect that investment, in my opinion. They're not going to hand him the rock 40 times a game when he was questionable heading into the game. That just wouldn't be smart, in my opinion, from a coaching perspective. I didn't think it was smart last year either, but here we are, talking about Josh Jacobs now as potentially a round 2 pick when we were passing on him in round 9 last year.
Does he need that type of – so I think I got him as RB11. Does he need that type of volume to pay off there? I feel like you're probably on the clock here coming up, but I think I don't want to say his floor is RB11 because we've seen his floor be much worse, but I don't know. I feel like if he's the guy there and he stays healthy, I think RB11 is probably fine for him, But yeah, we'll see. I totally get it. Like I definitely don't see top 3 RB upside this year, but I based on all the volume that he had last year, but.
Well, so let's play a little game. Okay, so Damian Harris, let's say, out of New England, Ramondre Stevenson or Josh Jacobs?
Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay, let's just say Tony Pollard back in Dallas.
Tony Pollard. You know how I feel about. I love Tony Pollard so much.
Does McCarthy calling plays scare you at all, or is Tony Pollard going to be idiot proof?
I mean, that is a great question because that's a big idiot. But I feel like when you get a big idiot, why are they an idiot? It's because they keep running the ball when they should be throwing it. So fine, hand the ball to Tony Pollard. But yeah, no, I get you. And listen, I would have taken Swift ahead of him. I would have taken all the guys that went ahead of him. Pollard, the injury right now, and not knowing what's going on there. So yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely not. I wanted a ton of Jacobs, but I just feel like it felt right in this spot here.
Okay. You grabbed one of my running backs who I planted the flag in the Hardway draft on. I took him, I think, around the same. I think it was round 6. It might have been actually, it might have been 7-1. I can't recall exactly where I took him. But that's Dameon Pierce. And for those who are skeptical with Pierce, there was a little stretch there prior to him getting hurt where he had 7 straight weeks inside the top 20. 3 of those weeks he was considered a RB1. That was inside the top 12. He was running back 9 in week 3, running back 5 in week 4, and then running back 11 in week 5, running back 18 in week 7, 20 in week 8, 13 in week 9, and then he was running back 18 in week 10. The offense can't be much worse than it was last year, right? That's what we're expecting. We expect them to be able to move the ball a little bit more. They're going to be drafting a quarterback with their first pick here. How do you think that's going to pan out for Pierce? Do you think that he is someone that could potentially be maybe a round 2/3 pick in 2024? I know it's February now. We're talking 2024 here, Adam.
I do like Pierce's talent for sure. I just keep thinking about that game he had on like Monday. Was it Monday? Or it couldn't have been Monday night. It's Texas. Probably Thursday night football where he went for like 120 yards rushing and he finished with like 13 fantasy points because he didn't get any catches. But I feel like with a new coach there, a new offense, hopefully they can squeeze some touchdown upside. I think he's a really good player. My co-host on the deep end, Mike Shope, was kind of talking me into this pick the other night. We were talking about Dameon Pierce, and it was really between him and Kamara here. I just feel like Kamara is getting a little long in the tooth. I feel like the Saints are just not that the Texans are looking great, but I just feel like the Texans will ride Pierce. Whenever you get a coach that comes in, he's a defensive coordinator. They love to play tough defense and love to run the ball. So Pierce is good. If they can get an elite line here, running the ball, maybe through the draft, through some free agency, I think Pierce could be. And I can't tell what I take him. RB20, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with him there. Again, it's going to be interesting. We always talk about the running back dead zone. Like, I feel like the running back dead zone this year might be pretty good here for running back. I mean, if you're getting Dalvin Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, I mean, I think there might be some good running back value.
Yeah, I know he may not re-sign with Detroit, but if he does, we're looking at probably a similar workload of last year. Just took Jamal Williams in round 13-9. If he does sign back with Detroit, I think it's going to happen. I think he does end up back in Detroit, and they keep that backfield together. They were a pretty good tandem, and I think that would be a fantastic value. But we are seeing a very similar trajectory of draft boards in early February compared to last year, where running back values were falling down the board, and we were getting great value in those rounds 7, 8, 9. I mean, this year already, Sanders is still a round 7 pick, Dobbins 7 pick, Rachaad White, Cam Akers. I mean, there's a lot of names here. What running backs in that range are you high on compared to others?
Yeah, it's a good question. You talking about 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like, if Sanders stays there, I like
you
him.
You can throw in 10 too. Just that range.
Yeah. I can't tell you who I really like. I can probably tell you who I don't like. Like Algier, I could see him being replaced in this year's draft, or at least being a 50-50 backfield. Rachaad White's interesting to me. I want to like Rachaad White. It's Brady's gone. Is Fournette gonna just disappear? So I don't know. Probably Sanders and Dobbins would be the two guys. Like, I've been a Dobbins guy. I know he's not going to catch passes and stuff, but again, at that point in the draft, he started to look really good at the end of last year. If they can get Lamar back, I kind of like both those guys, especially if Sanders stays in Philly.
Really, I can't believe you got Jamal Williams at 13-9.
He's kind of hidden.
I didn't take him. He's not in my. I don't know why. It's like he didn't show up on my list here. I think maybe when I refresh, he just disappeared or something. One of them things, man. You got all this going on at one time. Like, oh no.
Yeah, and I'm having trouble trying to talk and find people simultaneously. That's been the most challenging, piece here. Like, I was looking for Rashid Shaheed for the last 3-4 minutes, and then you realize he was taken there at 13-1.
I love that you're locked into Rashid Shaheed in February. That's fantastic. I remember talking with you about him in like November, and here we are.
Yeah, he's the perfect best ball candidate, right? You're never going to hit start on him inside of a redraft. You're never going to feel comfortable.
Right.
But best ball, I mean, that's the perfect candidate, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, that was you just cleaned my guy out. I went to Dulcich there too. I was hoping he's gonna make it back.
I can't believe he was still. I mean, without everyone, not that I love Dulcich, but a lot of people love Dulcich and Okonkwo. Some people just love him. So I needed tight ends. I double tapped tight end.
I had both in my queue and said one of them will make it back. I'm going to take Jamal Williams here.
Well, listen, you see, I got nothing over here. I'm double. I got to take at least one. But
yeah, I thought one of them would make it back at least.
What were your thoughts? I haven't been able to listen to a ton. I listened to a little bit earlier. I know it's best ball and quarterbacks go a little bit earlier, but do you think this is the year where quarterback starts to creep back up into the, second, third round with the elite guys?
I don't think we'll maybe see, I'll stop what I'm saying there. Tour season happens and we get all the mass drafters in. We'll probably see a Mahomes and Josh Allen creep into the end of the second round. Yeah. And as of right now, I think round 3, best ball, February, this is about as early as we're going to see them just because of the uncertainty, because it happens every year. We looked at last year's draft boards and we saw a very similar trajectory, right, where uncertainty at the position, I think there was 20 quarterbacks selected in the draft prior to round 10 in a few drafts that I did in early February and March last year. And then as we started having more clarity at the position, people's concerns kind of eased up. And they were able to identify their starters, where they can get them at. Now they know that they can get a back in quarterback 2 later in the draft, where rather than like right now, there's 4 or 5 spots that we don't really know what's going to happen at quarterback. And so I think that's what it is. It's the uncertainty and also the anxiety of the drafters that are pushing up the quarterback position. I think we're going to see that at tight end as well. And then as we kind of get some clarity, those positions will start to naturally fall down. And then players like, Marquise Brown or, Burks, players that are the team's true wide receiver ones will start to kind of climb up half a round per se and balance out the boards.
Yeah, and at least I do like what Brad and the world champs did there. They take they take the stud and then they just don't touch the position. Maybe till the very end, they'll take maybe 2 late guys or 1 late guy, and just call it a day. At least I like to see that out of people who obviously know what they're doing, but just to stay consistent with it. And there we go. There goes Pickett as at number 2 behind Allen there. So no, yeah, I like. There is an advantage to taking that quarterback early because you can wait 10, 12 rounds before getting your second one.
Okay. Kohlscheen is officially in the room. He said, extend Adam here. I am running a little late. I kept you on a little longer, Adam. Thank you for tuning in with us. Why don't you tell the listeners where to find you, what you're working on, and plug all the details?
You can find me at Adam_Krautwurst on Twitter or at DeepEndFF1. That's a show that I co-host with Mike Shope. And you can find him at Shope Talk. And we're just putting out content and doing high stakes stuff right now. We're in best ball dynasty mode. Next week we're going to have some guys on to talk about the upcoming rookie class. And so we're just excited to get that content out, and hopefully we'll have some good news coming out in the next couple of weeks is what our next step is.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate you hopping on the pod, and good luck in the rest of the draft.
All right, guys. See you, Jody.
All right, Jack. Congratulations on your second place finish in the main event, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for joining the pod. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I just got sniped. I thought Elijah Mitchell was going to make it all the way to me, and not so lucky.
You took Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Are you confident that he's the starter next year?
No, not at all. But but at that price, he's a nice compliment to Trevor Lawrence, and there's enough of an upside that he could start over Lawrence a number of weeks, and if he doesn't, I'm not doomed. So.
Okay, walk us through the rest of your team. Looks like you went 4 straight wide receivers. Walk us through the thought process, the build. Any picks that you were excited that fell to you? Maybe picks that you are maybe wincing at after the fact. Kind of walk us through the whole shebang.
Yeah, getting to start at the 101. I like, I do like CMC, but I think just because of the format, I always have fun getting ahead on wide receivers and pushing the envelope and really forcing others to maybe change. So the forward wide receivers, I liked getting Mike Williams where he was. I think he's getting a little forgotten. And I think given that the Chargers didn't make the playoffs, I think they should have a very good schedule next year. They'll have a different offensive coordinator. Lombardi was tight around the line of scrimmage. So hopefully, some deeper passes for Mike Williams. And then after that, surprised Joe Mixon was still there. I don't think I've ever drafted Joe Mixon, but at that point, when I go 4 wide, he's not a bad RB1. I thought Trevor Lawrence was the first, the last quarterback of the tier that he was in, so I wanted to grab that. And then the opportunity to pair with Zay Jones and Evan Ingram kind of just seemed natural. And then, I picked Gainwell and Madison on purpose because I think that their situations could improve. I wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders is elsewhere, so I think that could make Gainwell up in a great offense in a starting role. Same thing with Madison. He's played out his contract and is an unrestricted free agent, so either the Vikings like him and trade Cook, or he ends up in a better opportunity. But I think those are 2 running backs that could improve compared to their ADP right now.
Yeah, I was on the GOAT District earlier today, and afterwards I was chatting with Dan off air, and we were talking about Dalvin Cook and the potential of him either having to restructure that contract or potentially being a cut candidate. Is that something that you are thinking as well, or do you think that ultimately Cook ends up back here and they're going to fix the cap elsewhere?
I think of all the parts that are expendable in that offense and trying to put more resources into defense. I think it has to be Dalvin Cook. You obviously can't touch Jefferson. You can't touch Hawkinson after the seasons they've had, and they seem to become the 1 and 2 in that offense. And there's not a tremendous amount of savings elsewhere. So I think it's a natural candidate, especially because we've seen for years now that Madison is almost a 1-to-1 fill-in for Dalvin Cook. So why not take the savings?
Okay. What were some of your favorite picks on the board, and maybe in the first 4 rounds, and maybe some of your least favorite? Go ahead and buy me some time. I'm on the clock here.
I love Breece Hall, but I am concerned, and that's probably very strongly biased coming off of the J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers. So I think that probably plays a bit in the mind, but I think top 3 rounds for Breece Hall, even as good as he was while he played. I don't think it's a bad pick. I think it's one that maybe I'm not making at this point until I learn a little bit more. I did like Pollard, though, where he went. I thought that I was going to grab Pollard if he didn't go there. I was really surprised. I mean, obviously there was a wide receiver run, but the ability for what I would consider quality running backs to drop into the 4th, 5th, 6th round was pretty surprising.
Okay, how about you, Jody? Any particular picks that you're really fond of in the first 4 rounds, and maybe someone that you're not?
Oh no, I'd have to go back and look. I'm just trying to survive here. Keep making.
Well, while you survive, I'll give you a bit of behind-the-scenes commentary, because I heard the world champ on earlier talking about his sweat and my sweat leading up until that last game and leading of the Sunday until that stupid Pickett Najee Harris last-minute touchdown. Certainly, I'm going to be bitter about that one against the Steelers. But actually watched all of the everything come in on my honeymoon. We were away on the honeymoon, sweating together, and actually literally sweating because we got sick on the honeymoon. So we were all like flu shivers and stuff watching football in the hotel room. But it was a lot of fun, and definitely excited to do it again this year.
Congratulations on the wedding. I remember we talked in Vegas. You told me that it was happening, so congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
How's it feel being a married man?
Just as busy and just as stretched as before, but thankfully I have an amazing partner who helps, lets me go to Vegas and draft, and gets excited about me playing fantasy football, and helps me be on a stream here at 8:30 at night. So
You're one of the fortunate few, so consider yourself blessed with that.
Well, when you win 20 grand, like fantasy football becomes a whole lot more compelling.
Amazing how much that can help.
They start planning out like, well, what we could get when you win this, and it's like, well, let's win again first. But all in good fun.
So as we've been recording, news has broke on Joe Mixon about his arrest warrant on suspicion of aggravated menacing. They are saying now that the charges are going to be dropped on Friday.
Okay.
Well, that's a good news for
me and my dinner for 2.
If you win, where would you like to go to dinner in your area?
Well, I have to be cognizant because my wife is a vegetarian, not by choice, but like after her pregnancy, the hormones shifted and she couldn't eat meat anymore. So she's like an involuntary vegetarian. So we do a lot of Asian, Mexican food, something like that. So actually, I have a friend of mine got us a bottle of sake to celebrate our wedding, and we were so sick that we hardly drank any alcohol afterwards. So, well, hopefully I've drank his sake by that point, but we'll see.
Well, I want to wait till you finish your pick here, so you can walk us through your thought process. Tell us as you're on the clock. You can tell us who you're taking and your reasonings behind both the picks, and then we'll let you get out of here and we'll bring on Theo.
So, this is the interesting part in the draft. Definitely looking wide receiver, tight end to just get depth there. I'm fine at quarterback or wide receiver, running back. I'm fine at tight end for my preferences. It's a lot of things that have to go right, but I'm taking Terrace Marshall with one of the picks.
He was in my queue.
Yep, he flashed this year, and I think the Panthers are a team both with new coaching, but some high draft picks, probably a new quarterback, some different, it's another one. It's the same thesis behind rookie wide receivers. There's all of this upside. I think the same is for a young wide receiver on a team with a lot of uncertainty. And second pick, need running back depth as well. So we'll go Michael Carter, especially if Breece Hall is not back as soon. I think that's a solid depth pick from best ball that it can at least get me a few weeks.
I like both the picks there. Had both of them in my queue. Carter, I think, is still going to be fantasy relevant, especially RB59 off the board seems a little egregious. I think his ADP will probably settle somewhere in that 44 through 46 range. It is interesting to see what they do with Bam Knight. He definitely flashed and had talent. I just don't know if they will commit to him once they get Breece Hall and have Carter both in the backfield. We shall see. Well, thank you very much, Jack, for coming on. Again, congratulations on your second place finish here in the World Championship. Excited to see you in the drafting rooms again this year. Always an interesting draft to have you in there. I know I'm going to get sniped. You're a very sharp individual, and I always usually like the teams that you construct. So congratulations, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one. All right, next up we have is Theo Gremminger from the GOAT District, and now player profiler. Theo, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I did not enjoy getting sniped on back-to-back tight ends. Adam Krautwurst, a little hat tip to you for the Dulcich and Chig Okonkwo picks back-to-back. Those hurt a little bit, so I'm scrambling a little here.
Yeah, I had them both in the queue. I said, because I wanted my second tight end, and I said, okay, I want to take Jamal Williams here. I think this is good value on him this late. One of these guys will make it back, and of course, Adam double taps it.
Adam's a sharp guy, but there's a lot of sharp drafters in this one. It's been interesting. I was pleased with some of the picks. I'm kind of scrambling here to make up for it a little bit at tight end, make up for it a little bit at running back. I like what I've done at the wide receiver spot. I'm not done drafting wideouts, but I like what I did early. It gave me a little flexibility. I like where I got Javonte Williams. Jalen Hurts was a little bit tilting, but I felt like it was a little bit flat there, and it allowed me to kind of wait on quarterback. And I got Stafford, I thought, in a decent spot too.
Okay. Why don't you take a look at the board? I know you're coming up here shortly, so I'll try not to get you too much. Looking at the board, are there any picks that have stuck out to you? We talked about rounds 1 through 4 already. Let's talk about maybe rounds 5 through 10. What some of your favorite picks in that range? Maybe a pick that you are not so fond of.
I mean, I loved Josh Larky getting Jamison Williams there. I thought that was really good. I like the value on Jahan Dotson, especially for this FFWC format. I thought those were sharp picks. I think that this is like the revenge of the second-year wide receiver.
You're on the clock.
We saw a couple guys. Let me make this pick, guys, real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to take Van Jefferson and add a little bit to my ugly Rams Higbee Jefferson stack. It's disgusting, but what are you going to do? So yeah, I think it's the revenge of the second-year wide receiver. I'm a big Drake London fan. Billy, we competed in the hardway draft against one another. I took London there. I take London again. He's kind of a flag plant guy for me. I like Garrett Wilson a great deal. I took Wan'Dale Robinson. I thought that was really good value where I got him for this format. I think if he's healthy in an FFWC format, he's going to go a lot higher than this a little later in the summer. But I really liked last year's class of wide receivers, and I think I think Treylon Burks, we talked about him earlier today on the pod. I mean, I think he could take a big step forward. So I'm kind of into those guys. Christian Watson was an interesting pick to me. I was drafting right around you guys here, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of him, but in this sort of format, those spike weeks really help, and I believe he can put a couple of those up for me.
Okay. Any of your picks here that maybe in hindsight you wish you wouldn't have taken?
You know, I get stuck at tight end here, so I wish I would have taken Dallas Goedert because I really wanted to have that Hurts Goddard connection, and I missed on that one. I'm not sure exactly where he went, but I took Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I'm very, very high on, but I think I could have taken Dallas Goedert there, and then just kind of hammered wide receiver a bit because I'm going to have to again make up for it at tight end. I took Michael Mayer here late, who I'm into. I think he'll be a top 15 to 20 pick in the NFL draft, and I think he could land quite well and put up some decent weeks for me. But if I would have just gotten Goddard, I would have had correlation with the Jalen Hurts pick, and I just would have. I think I would have liked my build slightly better. But I do think Jackson Smith and Jigba. I heard Adam talk about Johnston. I heard Luke Sawhook talk to you guys about Jordan Addison. Smith and Jigba is my favorite wide receiver in this class. Even if he lands in the second round versus one of those other guys in the first round, I still think he could absolutely crush it in fantasy. If you look at how he did alongside Chris Olave, alongside Garrett Wilson when he was at Ohio State, he was seeing a tremendous amount of usage despite being next to those guys. And also Jeremy Ruckert, who was a draft pick last year of the Jets at the tight end spot. So he was surrounded by pros and still put up huge stats. This year he was out. Injured for most of the season, and I think he'll bounce back very nicely. So for me, to get him there, I think that was like a really good value. I think if he lands well in like FFWC drafts, he's going to go higher than the 6th round.
Okay, I am now on the clock. I'm debating between two players. Let's see which way I want to go. Let's see, 2573.
I've not enjoyed drafting between you and Jody though. I could have landed better in terms of the order here because I think we were on the same page with a couple of these guys that we like.
It happens.
Yeah, man. It's hard to avoid.
There's no easy in this room.
All right, I'm going to take sneaky David Bell pick, Billy. I'm going to take Isaiah Likely here, just try to play catch up here at the tight end spot.
That's your tight end 3 now?
It's my tight end 3. So I have a couple of other later tight ends here. How many rounds are we doing? 24?
24.
I'll probably take a 4th tight end and just kind of live with these guys. That's the problem with if I would have taken Goddard, I could have just relaxed a little bit, but having Tyler Higbee as my tight end 1, I'm not thrilled with that.
All right, let's take a look at your build now that I have enough in the queue to last me hopefully till next round. I'm not going to be scrambling here. You started off with Lamb here at the 108, Garrett Wilson at the 25. No, you took Devonta Smith in the hard way. Never mind. I think it was Austin
Martin, who's a tremendous drafter and a friend of ours. He was right next to me in the hard way draft. And he took Garrett Wilson 1 spot ahead, and I took Devonta Smith. So even here tonight, I considered Devonta Smith here, and I considered Saquon Barkley as well. I saw you took Waddle here. He was also obviously in my queue, but I wanted to have some Garrett Wilson exposure. 148 targets as a rookie. I mean, I think he's a 100-catch guy this season, and if they improve the quarterback spot, even a Derek Carr level quarterback, it doesn't have to be something incredible in New York. I think that Garrett Wilson is a 100-catch guy. He's explosive. He has draft capital. I think he could be like a top 5 wide receiver this year if it all bounces right.
Okay, and then you come back with Jalen Hurts. No need to explain that one. Drake London, did you take him in hard way as well? I think you did.
I did. I took him with the 5-0 at the 502. We talked about him earlier in the pod. He's kind of a flag plant guy for me. Over the last 5 games, he averaged 9.5 targets per game. So I'm into him.
Yeah, I think he had like a 30+% target share in 2 games. I think one was like 46%. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember the exact numbers.
46% of Arthur Smith offense is like a 25% target share for other guys.
It's like 3 targets.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. It's like you got all of them.
no, it was promising to see his connection with Ritter. I definitely think that it was a better fit for him having Ritter at helm than it was for having Mariota. I think it'll actually benefit Pitts as well. It's Arthur Smith though is one of those things you just want to pound your head against the wall every time you see them calling plays and they want to run the ball as much as they have been. But I like the pick there as well. He was one of those receivers that you and I have talked off air before about him on that model that I was building, and his name popped up in there as well. Watson, let's talk about Watson. So Christian Watson, you have here at 5'8". If Aaron Rodgers does not go back to Green Bay, where do you think Christian Watson gets drafted?
I still think that he's going to be a guy with a lot of juice during the summer because I think there's going to be a lot of high-stakes drafters who are into Christian Watson based on his big playability. It's a small sample size, but like if you're talking about like an FFWC or an NFFC, a wide receiver heavy format, I still think this is about where Watson will go. Watson, he showed game winning week ability. And it's a small sample size, but Jordan Love targeted him for a touchdown. I know the one they believe it was like Jordan Love's one of his first attempts was a touchdown pass to Christian Watson. I wouldn't be completely scared off. I think that there's going to be a little more clarity at the wide receiver position in Green Bay. Alan Lazard will not be there. But again, like Christian Watson, we get so caught up into total targets, target share, a lot of metrics. But at the end of the day, his speed just looked completely different than most of the guys out on an NFL field. He looked more explosive and faster than most of the players around him. And I think that there'll be some faders of him. But I think, again, when you're talking about a guy that's like a 5th-round pick, swing for upside. The way I draft, I'll be able to make up for it with other wide receivers. If I miss on him, so be it. But I think it's worth taking him around this range, with or without Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, Theo, well, I got JD in the lobby behind stage. Thank you for coming on. Why don't you tell the listeners where to find you and what you're working on?
Yeah, so you can find me in the GOAT District. We had Billy on today with Davis Maddock and Dan Williamson. It was tremendous. You can find my work on Player Profiler. You can find me pretty much weekly in the GOAT District for podcasts, and starting in March, I'll be doing some podcasting for Player Profiler as well, and I'm the head high stakes writer there. I'm probably going to write up this particular draft on Player Profiler shortly. So you know where to find me, and I'm at the OG Fantasy on Twitter. And thanks a lot for having me on, guys. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Billy.
Thanp you, Theo, for joining us, and good luck in the rest of the draft.
You're on deck.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we have JD from the GOAT District. JD, how are you tonight?
What's up, guys? How's it going, man?
I was wondering if you were going to be like Oz tonight, the man behind the curtain.
Sal does the what's that? The potathon every year.
Yeah.
And Dan and I would pay to get on, and there's 2 years in a row, 2 years straight. Logistically, just a disaster. Couldn't get the camera going. Couldn't get the mic going. 1 year is always an issue. So no, man, we're good. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate the invite. Jody looks like he's ready to party real hard right now.
No, I'm actually on the clock, so I'm just taking it.
It's tough, man. This draft is logistically tough. Like it's more about.
I can say, having this just came up, and I wasn't quite ready for it. I can tell, I'm not ready for a draft right now. I don't feel like. I just don't feel like my preparation. I'm still stuck in the normal routine and stuff, so I haven't started this look ahead quite yet. And like I said, I'm not ready. So it just tells me that I'm, I need to, finalize the free agency stuff that I'm working on and start getting back into the groove. Because I said at the top of the show, we can't, in this business, you can't really take that break. I used to, as a youngster in this industry, I used to, right after the Super Bowl, I'd be like, okay, I need like a couple of weeks or a month off. You just can't do it anymore.
No, football is now a year-round sport, right? Especially with how large and how much it's grown over the years. I think it's one of those things that it is just constant. It never ends. I felt like the same thing with you, Jody. I used to take a month off after the fantasy season ended, and then just kind of let the mind relax and take a break and get back and fully refreshed. And it just physically you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, now we're bugging the formats, the sites to get the best balls going, before the playoffs even start in some instances. I know the hard way we get on them pretty quick to get that one fired up.
So JD, you are sitting here in the 2-hole. So far you've gone 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, and 3 tight ends. Walk us through your build.
Yeah, I mean, started with Chase. First 2 I think is a no-brainer, especially in a 3 receiver start. I love stacking Higgins and Chase. I don't know. Maybe it's it just looks pretty. I don't know. I just like having the 2, and I feel like when you get to that end, we talked about it last night on the GOAT District. After ASB and Waddle, maybe you can throw Wilson in there. I feel like there's a tier break, and then the next guys get a little flat. After Higgins, apologies, and then it gets kind of flat with like the Pittmans. I like Olave. But I think the firepower that you get in Cincinnati, they're going to come back hungry. Hopefully they get that offensive line right next year. Third time's a charm, is that what they say? And then you get points there. Breece Hall, I understand the risk. And then sure enough, I come back and Pollard's there. But I had to take Pollard. I hate having 2 guys that are coming off of injury. But Hall was early in the season. And then because it's best ball, you can fill the gaps, right? You're looking at roster construction. You're looking to fill holes on a weekly basis and get the max points. So I feel like until Hall gets back, I've got enough depth at the running back position with guys like Dobbins later, Mitchell, and then I'm going to sprinkle a bunch of rookies in at the end of these drafts just to get some upside.
Okay. Is there anyone on the board that maybe you missed and said, oh man, you saw him go and you said, I did not see him inside the lobby? Is there any player in particular that you wish you would have saw or drafted?
Yeah, there's a bunch where you look them up, right? You look up the name and then you see the person, like the team name beside it, and you're like, shit, I'm trying to think which ones are some that I had. I know I got trying to see where I would have got kind of sniped here. It's hard to tell, right? Because Jody, you're talking about you're not ready. This is like my 4th best ball already, and I'm still scrambling. Like I've got the first couple rounds, the first handful of rounds where I can manage. But to me, this tonight was like a bare knuckles. Like they have those bare knuckle drafts where you go in like with. Have you ever done that, Billy?
I have not done it, but I have seen it, and I definitely want to do it. You can do it with a partner too, right? Where you can memorize the first half, and then your partner can do the second half. I think that would be the strategy if I were to do it.
Good luck with the second half guy.
It's tough, man. The farther you get in these drafts, you're just kind of putting in names. I was going old school. Like if you guys can see this, I've got like printed out FFPC draft boards from my first few drafts, just so I can get the names. It's more just so I can see the names in front of me and try not to miss anyone. But it gets really tough. I usually go probably earlier than ADP. Will end up on some guys. Apologies with the echo there. Is that on my end?
No, I think it's on. It might be Jody's side, I think.
Okay. But I mean, you make it work, right? Kittle's a guy. Kittle, I thought, was falling really nicely. To me, he's up there with the Andrews and the Hawks. He's been a top 3 tight end every single year, except for 1 year he was tight end 4 points per game.
You're on deck.
Is that me?
That is you on deck. Yes.
This will be fun.
Liz Loza letting you know.
All right, Liz, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see this. I mean, the one thing that I didn't figure out until a couple rounds ago is you can go by position, then just kind of scroll down.
Yeah, that's
you're on the clock.
So I might go like I'll throw a third. I'll go Purdy. You're the who do I want? Purdy or Jimmy G?
No, Purdy's out a year. He's not playing next year.
All right, I'll go Jimmy G then. I'll just take Jimmy G here third. Again, just looking at positional need at this point.
Yeah. Purdy is they're officially needing Tommy John surgery. He's going to be
Oh
out.
no, that they already said that.
Yeah, it came out yesterday saying that he's most likely
Oh, I missed
officially
that.
getting Tommy John surgery and is going to miss 12 to 15 months now.
Damn. Billy,
Yeah.
did you pour one out for your boy?
Yeah, I sat in the corner with a box of tissues and drank a bottle of tequila.
Understandable.
I'm going to have to change my Discord slogan as Purdy with the goat picture. So I'm going to have to start thinking of something creative
Do
now.
you
But
think he was coming back, Billy, as the QB1 in San Fran?
had he not been hurt, I think it was his job to lose.
Yeah.
You're on deck.
I think that he performed well above the expectation, right? When he came in, I don't think there was a lot of expectations for him, but I think that he was able to string together a pretty amazing start to his rookie career. Unfortunate injury that's going to now derail his sophomore campaign and at this point now put his career in jeopardy moving forward, in my opinion. There's no draft capital really, and mystery relevant, right? There's nothing that's going to
You're on the clock.
tie him to a starting role moving forward if Lance recaptures this role and moves forward as the starter. I don't know what the Niners are going to do now because, I mean, Lance definitely had opportunities, and you saw that he struggled at times to move the ball down the field. He was a green prospect coming in to the NFL and was definitely more of, he had the arm strength to succeed and had the rushing ability, but I think from a pocket passer or from someone that's going to be able to run the offense, I think that at times he definitely struggled. So I think it was Purdy's job to lose. Unfortunately, he lost it with the injury, but I'll see what they do. You never know what the Niners are going to do here. They might bring in a veteran presence and have them compete with Trey Lance. I'm glad that they're cutting ties with Jimmy G. I just didn't like his demeanor with the team, and I think that it's best for them to separate ways.
It's too bad for the kid. I mean, he came in and I mean, it's too bad he's hurt and he's got to come back now and deal with injury. But just getting back to the draft, we're 4 rounds left. These late rounds, especially in a draft like this where we're all kind of scrambling for names, I'm just looking to kind of stack if I can. If there's an opportunity, I grabbed Goodwin there. He had a couple top 12 wide receiver 1 games this year with Geno Smith. Maybe they build on something this year. I don't even know if Goodwin, I haven't had a chance to look at his contract to see if he's even in Seattle. I don't know if either of you guys know that. Usually I turn to Dan and he gives me the contract update on whoever it is we're talking about.
Don't have Goodwin's contract memorized, unfortunately.
No problem. I'll let it go.
We can look it up, though. I mean, let's take a look. I've got
the Spot track right here.
Yeah, Marquise Goodwin here. Let's see. I got it opened as well. He is an unrestricted free agent here in 2023.
All right, not good. There you go. And that's you're gonna get duds this time of year. But I will say this: the Hardaway draft, I took it down this past year, and I went back and looked at it. And you look at my last last 5 rounds, was it? Here it is. Were literally nothing. I didn't hit on anyone. I had Trey Sermon, Chris Evans. I hit on Kenny Pickett as he was instead of Zach Wilson, who after Mahomes. So I made up for Wilson there, but. The last guys that I took at positional RB, Trey Sermons, Chris Evans, and then guys like Juwan Jennings, Terrace Marshalls, even Jameson Williams never really, gave me anything. So if you build it strong early, I guess you're good enough to win in some instances, but you want to try to at least get a couple hits late will definitely help you in best ball.
Yeah, there's especially I'm trying to think of a player like as of last year. I'm blanking right now. We can go back even as far as like Darren Waller. Remember before Darren Waller broke out, he was going in round 20 and undrafted in a lot of these drafts. And we know what happened over the last few years, but that's just kind of what you can expect when you're looking at drafts these late. Like last year was, I remember the name now, Tyler Algier was another name going extremely late in drafts. And, down the stretch was a RB2 on a week-to-week basis. So if you can hit on those late round picks, it definitely pays off.
Even Brian Robinson going 25 plus rounds last year, he paid off pretty nice at that price.
Yeah, so you're not interested here in Kenny Golladay this late, huh?
Dirty. Is he still playing?
That's debatable. Even when he's on the field, is he playing? That's the question.
All right, hold on one sec. I got a runny nose for some reason. It's a little weird.
So we did the top 10 rounds. How about rounds 13 through 20? What is one of your favorite picks on the board?
15 to 20?
Yeah, sure.
So how do you? I'm new to this site. How do you read the? Let me see this. How do you read the rounds on this thing?
The draft board. So inside your pick on the right hand side, there's a button that's gray. It says draft board. Third button down.
Yeah. But once you're in there, where's the actual round that you're in? Oh, I see it here. 15, 14. Never mind. It's like 15 dash, right? It gives you the
exactly. Yeah. So it'll say like 15-2 for you.
Round 15 too.
Yep. 15 to 20.
15 to 20. So Warren's a guy I like. He's a guy that I was looking for. Did a quick search on him, and I forgot who took him. He's a little sneaky guy with what he did last year, and people are a little down on Harris.
Is it Jalen Warren?
Jalen Warren, thank you very much. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, 15-10. He went to Luke.
15-10. I mean, he looked good coming into the season. He looked like he if he had the opportunity, he would capitalize, and we saw it. So maybe we see a bit more of a shared situation in Pittsburgh next year, and he gets, considering he's going in the 16th, 15th round. I mean, I think that's really good value. The tight ends in a draft like this will, you get some nice value late, like Noah Fant. To me is a nice pick there. Looking at the running backs that go, you're trying to take shots at rookies, right? You see a lot of rookies go off the board here. Guys like Chuba Hubbard, I don't mind Hubbard. He gave you some nice weeks this week. These running backs, you're not looking for a guy to start every week, right? Again, you're looking to plug in holes. So depending on who you took early in the draft, like I've got guys like Hall and Pollard that might be, a little iffy at the beginning of the year. So I'll probably grab a couple, one or two more veteran running backs. So you're either taking like a flyer on a youth, or you're going, floor to fill in a gap that you maybe are weak early on in your build.
Okay. How about you, Jody?
Did that even answer your question?
It did. Yeah. Jody, anybody in particular you like picks around 15 through 20?
Going backing up again, I'll talk about your Jamal Williams pick was excellent. That was just an issue of me screwing up my cue, because it would have made so much sense for me to pair him with DeAndre Swift in particular. If he were to re-sign with Detroit, that would be, I would be guaranteeing myself,
you're on deck.
100 rushing yards, and God, who knows how many rushing touchdowns. What did they have? 20 something last year between the two of them? 25?
Yeah, he led the league in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, you got to like the value there. I'll scroll back through 15. At this point, my objective in particular has been I'm just taking flyers on veterans. Jalen Warren, he hit on him. That was a pretty savvy little pick for Luke.
You're on the clock.
JD's on the clock.
Cordero Patterson at 19 is interesting. I mean, I don't know what Atlanta's doing over there, but if they bring back a little, committee backfield type thing over there, I mean, at this point, it's the 19th round.
Mm-hmm.
Right before that, this is the guy that I had queued because I was scrolling through things. I was like, I can't believe he's still here.
You're on deck.
I understand Zach Ertz dealing with the, messed up knee, but still to get a guy that, when healthy, top 5 tight end, to get him in round 19, probably as his tight end 3. Nice little move.
Okay. We got some people still in the lobby. Let's go ahead and bring everybody back on. I'm going to get rid of the graphics here so we can fit everybody on the screen. Let's get them all off here and get everybody. Oh, wrong one.
Theo.
JD, what's
What's up,
on,
brother?
man?
Long time no see.
If you are still listening, Bradley, Larky, anyone else, Luke, if you're still there listening to the show and you want to join us, Jack, hop on in here. I don't know how many we can fit. We'll find out. I think it's 8.
The show, and you want to join us, Jack?
hop on in here. I don't know how many we can fit. We'll find out. We got some. If you got your computer playing through speakers, try to mute it, please. There we
Got my
go.
22nd round Tim Patrick there in an FFWC format.
Ooh, that's
I almost took him instead of Edmonds. I was literally going back and forth. I was like, I got Hamler and Patrick. One of these guys will score a touchdown one week. All right, guys. Let's once we get through this last round. So I want to start. I like to do this every time we do a draft with this many people. But start looking at the board. Start kind of mentally grading teams. Right, not degrading, mentally grading, and think about maybe who you think maybe did an outstanding job drafting tonight. Maybe your favorite build, why you like it, and that way we can give someone a round of applause and see if we can crown someone the draft winner, because we know that never pans out in the season. So it's kind of the curse, right? If you're pegged as the draft winner. So start preemptively thinking about that as we wrap up these last two rounds.
You're on deck.
All right, Jody, who are you thinking here?
Well, can I even find a player with a pulse at this point? That's what I'm thinking.
I wish we had 5 more rounds, Jody. We should do a draft one night where there's nobody left in the queue. Like, we just keep picking until every name is gone.
If somebody collapses on the pod. Yeah. Mental fatigue.
See how far we can go. You just start clicking people to click them just to get them off the board.
I'll take Raheem Mostert. Kind of never. He'll have one big game this year.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what you're looking for at this point, right?
Jody, that's a nice pick with Josh Kelly in the 23rd round.
I was gonna say, who just took Josh Kelly? He was out top of my queue.
It's a nice one.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I was thinking just that's a difference maker potentially if Eckler were to go down, but we don't. I mean, I think none of us in the fantasy community want to actually see that happen. So,
and you got to think they bring someone else in, no? Instead of Kelly.
I don't know. They drafted Spiller last year and Kelly beat him out. So
Spiller sucks.
Yeah, they like Kelly. Remember the Spiller was a red hot mid
A year ago today, Isaiah Spiller was everyone's RB2 or 3 or 4 coming into this class, and
a lot of people took him ahead of Dameon Pierce. A lot of people took him ahead of Brian Robinson. A lot of people took him ahead of Tyler Algier. That was a tough rookie pick to take Spiller. He snuck in the first round of some rookie drafts. That was tough.
Remember us talking, Jody, and I just said he looks like he's running in quicksand?
Yep.
He just looks so slow to me. Yeah. And then he came in and ran that. What was it, a 4.6 40?
Yeah, he was slow.
It's like lineman speed.
Yeah, and you just saw his value plummet.
As we see Adam now take him out of his queue. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Oh man.
Which team was Luke Sawhook? I'm just trying to figure out how many running backs he took.
He took 7 running backs. He's right to my right. So if you go to the top of the board, you can see up here. This was something that I implemented last year for the draft room. Ooh, so instead of me having to count all the squares, I got tired of doing it during the middle of the podcast and trying to count colors. I said we need to get the very top, the build. So as they're updating, they draft them. It'll show you. So like for instance, Theo, you're 2-7, 10-4, right? I'm 3-7, 10-3. And we did not add kicker or defense on there. We don't need to know the quantity.
I like that.
Love that.
It's a nice little quick overview. And while we're here, you can take a look at like the draft board here, the top left-hand corner. Let's go look at Cup. So Mojo's pick 1-6. Top left corner is the pick number. Top right corner is the round in pick number. Bottom left-hand corner is the positional number. So wide receiver 4 off the board. And then, of course, the bottom right corner is the team and the bye week. Schedule's not updated because we don't have the schedule, so it's showing 2022 schedule as of today. I'm on the clock. I'm about to time out, aren't I?
Well, you're gonna be pissed because Spiller just went off the board.
You're on,
that's unfortunate. Who took him? As Luke did.
Adam Krautwurst snipes me again with this Skoronic pick in the 24th round. The guy's just, guy drafts well.
Oh man.
I mean, the win tonight is if you look up a guy and he's there and available, right? it's like you feel like you just like pulled the 101 or something.
So JD, I'll let you pick. Do I structurally need one more running back or structurally one more wide receiver for this format? Because I have 2 guys in my queue, 1 running back, 1 wide out.
You're what, 2-7-10? Yeah, for sure receiver. You got enough running backs.
I'm gonna go wide receiver here then.
Yeah.
As long as Billy doesn't snipe him.
Did I take him?
I don't know. It didn't update for me yet.
You're on the clock.
Nope. I will take Nick Westbrook Ikine.
Yeah, you got Javante there, Theo. He was kind of sitting there. If I didn't have 2 injured guys early, I would have taken him coming back.
I had you taking JD. I pegged you to take him and not Dobbins, but I saw you took Dobbins, who I know you're also high on. So
yeah, I think Dobbins is a little ahead of the game health wise than Javante. So that's kind of like I said after the first 2, but I like that pick there where you got him.
Yeah, it's fine value there.
Oh,
I thought about taking Deshaun Jackson because he was like 1 of 5 players faster than an iguana. And that, man, my kid hit me with that stat. Then the iguana can run 21 miles an hour. And I was like, no, they can't. And I looked it up, and it was 21.7 miles an hour. Another fact about them, so I've been like researching iguanas the last couple days. They have a 6 foot vertical. That is insane.
You look up when you have a kid, eh, Billy?
Yeah,
Billy,
right?
why don't you just queue up an iguana right now and draft it?
Yeah, is iguana still on the board? Or?
Dude, that's the 101 if they could catch a football. 6 foot vertical and a 21, and that's just like an average iguana. Imagine if it was like the elite iguanas. He's probably running like 26 miles an hour.
You get him on a training program, like for the iguana combine.
So it gets cold, they freeze, they fall out of the tree, and then they jump back up, is what you're saying. So it's
I have no idea, but it sounds logical.
In Florida, when it gets cold, you'll see them looking dead on the ground, and it's just their defense mechanism as they play dead and they freeze. It's insane out there.
I remember we were down in Cancun and down there in like
You're on deck.
at the pyramids or whatever they're called. They're everywhere, right? You just see them scattered all over the place. It's pretty cool to see.
That is awesome.
We don't see that kind of stuff over on the West Coast.
No, we don't have iguanas on Long Island. I wish we did. JD has wildlife though. JD in Canada.
Oh, dude, we're getting attacked. 2 nights ago we had a couple deer, which were super nice, and then last night for some reason for the past 24 hours it's been pure skunk, man. I don't know where around my house this thing is living, but there is a serious smell of skunk going on in the household here. It's anyways, hopefully we figure out, or hopefully it just goes away. I don't know how these animals work, especially when it's -20 up here tonight. So
yeah, it probably reduces his
You're on the clock.
vertical from 6 feet to 5 feet in the cold
here we
weather.
go. Pick of the draft here. ESB. Let's go stack it with
You're on the clock.
I don't even know who Bradley just picked. Who is that?
Benjamin
Rodriguez Jr.
Oh wow, yeah.
Kentucky running back.
I am behind on my rookie research. All right, last pick of the draft. Let's see, Kohlscheen. Who is it?
It's in.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, that's a good
There you
pick.
go. That's nice value there too.
That's a sneaky pick.
We got a couple of weeks.
I have 1 guy left in my queue. I could keep going if you guys want to add that.
All right, let's start left to right from the board in the order in which you picked. Kohlscheen, you first. Who's one of your favorite builds here tonight?
I'm going to have to go with Theo. I like the wide receivers heavy start in this format. I really like Garrett Wilson, even aggressively, like here grabbing Hurts, and then I thought Drake London. Everything literally went wrong. So even if a couple things get tweaked in the right direction in terms of a regression to the mean of passing, I think that could be a great pick. Same thing with Watson. So some interesting running backs. I think Javante coming back, but certainly enough depth. I think it's a really well-balanced team, especially given the 3 wide receiver format.
Okay, who's next? We got JD. How about you?
this is not me kissing up to the host, but I do like your build, Muzio. I gotta say, I like your 2 running backs. Chubb was a guy who was definitely. It's funny because I actually thought of Chubb. This is what happens in a logistically challenged draft like this, where you don't necessarily have the right ADP list in front of you. Chubb was a guy I wanted, and I took Hall because I was kind of running out of time, and I had him in my queue. But I love your Chubb pick there. And then I just like your collection of receivers, just that collection that you have, even up to Mooney. I mean, Mooney as your 2, 4, 6, 8, or 2, 4, 6 as your wide receiver 6. I like it. Quarterbacks and tight ends. You've got a nice little tight squeeze in the middle there, which I like doing if I don't go early on those positions. And then you added some really nice depth and some flyers at the end. But I like that build. Theo, I mean, for sure, I got to compliment my boy, the GOAT, with his build, and I don't hate the stat. Fourth spot with Kelsey.
Oh, Stalder, Bradley.
For some reason, the names are kind of Bradley. Excuse me. I don't hate what he did there, just starting off with like a high up. I know we talked about Walker on our show earlier, or actually you guys talked about Walker, earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're drafting him this early, you're kind of taking him at his ceiling almost, I guess, in a way. But I love how you kind of backed it with the depth at receiver, and then you hit like some veteran running backs Elliott and Fournette where you got them at the 10 and 11 spot after the receivers you picked up. I like that build too.
Okay. How about you, Bradley?
I like Kohlscheen, starting 4 wide receivers and then getting the discount on Mixon as the news is breaking, right? And I love the Trevor Lawrence pick as well. Miles Sanders is going to land somewhere being fantasy relevant. And I think you'll be just fine with the Ingram and Jelani Woods. Those are 2 extremely high upside tight ends that we've seen this year. So, and then I just want to say, Kohlscheen, as we were getting into rounds, 16 and beyond, I kept searching for, is this wide receiver gone? Terrace Marshall, I searched, gone. Chenault, gone. De'Ami Brown, gone. I'm like, what the hell? Okay. But no, in reality, I really like a lot of those picks. And that's who I would go with.
Okay. How about, I think Jody, you're next. Oh, no. We got Adam. Adam's next.
Yeah, actually, Bradley, I like your team the best overall for sure. I love the start. You just hit the wide receivers heavy after picking up kind of your number ones from there. So, and of course, I'm not a big fan of Elliott or Fournette, but to pick them up that late, I mean, how can you complain? And Billy, to me, you're a close second. You really are. You probably waited slightly too long on QB. You did I'll call it the normal QB run late, which obviously is okay. And maybe you should have picked up a rookie QB at the end just to take a flyer. But other than that, I like your team as well.
Thank you. Jody, how about you?
I'm going to agree with most of the people, but kind of like what Larky did. I thought he was taking some shots, but he ended up targeting a lot of players that I kind of liked. Should have been prepared for him to do this, but after I took Amari Cooper, I was thinking, I'm going to sneak Deshaun Watson in as my quarterback. And Larky was just talking about on our show that he was a breakout. So he took him about a few spots before I was going to had it come back there to me. You can see I took Dak Prescott with the next pick. So I was looking at Watson then, even though it feels kind of creepy. But I agree. Like the first 3 teams or so, I really like what they did. And like I said, I think Larky was doing a pretty good job knocking out some decent guys that I had targeted.
I liked what Kohlscheen did as well. I love the four decision start. I'm not crazy about Mixon, even at that ADP. I think that's honestly where he probably belongs this year. But I love that he was able to get Sanders there, and Gainwell's been in the 5 drafts I've done so far. Gainwell is probably almost 80% owned in those drafts now. So I think that we could see a nice bump in ADP with him. And I agree with what Bradley said. I was like looking for Rashid Shaheed for like 3 minutes and realized he was taken like 2 rounds ago. And then I did the same thing with Terrace Marshall, same thing with Laviska Shenault, which is something I've been liking to do in these early drafts, is taking those two late and kind of securing that, wide receiver 2 in this offense where they should be pretty bad again, trailing and throwing the ball quite a bit. So I really like that double tap. It's been something I've been doing as well. And I've also been doing the Carter and Knight double tap as well, because you're going to be getting an early bit of usage from both of them as the Breece Hall continues to heal.
What do you mean, man? I got James Robinson in the 20 what round is this? 23rd round, man. Come on.
You could have got him in the 30th, and I probably would have passed.
I was looking up Michael Carter. I was like, oh man, I'm getting a steal. I'm not a handcuff guy, but look at this. And then of course he's taken.
And then I look at it and say, man, I missed Kendrick Bourne in around 24, and now I feel like my team's gonna fall apart. So, well, everybody, thanks for joining the podcast. Thanks for joining the stream as well. Always a pleasure to draft with you boys, and it was nice to partake in a February draft with you. Let's see who can stay the healthiest and have the least amount of movement on their teams heading into the season here in the what we got.
So Billy, just to clarify, we get a dinner with you. You fly out and have dinner with us.
Sounds good.
I will be IFR rated by then, so I've been working on my IFR rating.
Nice.
I'm hoping to have it done by like May, June. So in realistic terms, I'm hoping August, right?
Fly out for the expo.
That's my plan. I really want to try to make it to the expo this year by myself. So
He's picking me up on the way there.
We gotta. It's definitely IFR world is a different world.
That should be the prize. That should be the prize. Billy picks you up,
takes you to the expo.
Oh, that's I like that. Forget dinner. I want
Yeah.
Forget dinner with my wife. I want to fly with Billy.
win-win right there.
All right, everybody. Well, that is it. Thank you for joining the podcast. I will tag everybody tomorrow, or probably even tonight, with the draft board and the video link. Please give it a retweet. Thanks for all your participation. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you all back here on Thursday with Jody and I talking about the Super Bowl. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Billy.